Before we get into this week's episode, we'd like to talk to you for a moment about Creepy Crate.
Creepy Crate is creepy great. Creepy Crate was kind enough to send us over a crate of goodies.
Our crate was kind of early 2000s themed, and there was a bunch of collectibles that any horror fan would love.
Absolutely. There was a phone charm for the strangers, and also a Captain Spaulding tote from House of a Thousand Corpses that I started using to carry around all my Pod Mortem gear.
Also included was an Umbrella Corp wristband, a Grudge sticker, and a Ginger Snaps iron-on patch that I'll be putting on my vest as well.
My cut of the loot was a copy of Nantucket Penny by Steven Axelrod and an ebook download for Lingo by Jem Menick. But my favorite thing in the whole crate was a pint glass that's signs themed. It says swing away, and then it has the crop circle symbols around it. Yeah.
I bet it could hold a lot of water, huh?
It needs to. They don't like water.
I've heard.
But there was truly something for everyone, and you can get something for yourself too. Creepy Crate was kind enough to give us a discount code to share with our listeners. You can use discount code MORTEM5 for $5 off your first purchase.
That code again is MORTEM5 for $5 off of your first purchase.
One more time, that code is MORTEM5 for $5 off your first purchase. We want to thank Creepy Crate one more time for sending us over that crate of goodies. And now, back to our regularly scheduled program.
Salutations. Welcome to Pod Mortem. I'm Reneé Hunter Vasquez, joined as always by my co-hosts, my husband and my brother.
Hi, I'm John Paul Vasquez.
Hi, I'm Travis Hunter.
This week, we're recording live from our childhood home discussing the 2003 South Korean psychological horror film, A Tale of Two Sisters. This film was written and directed by Kim Jee-woon. Inspired by the Korean folktale Jangwa Hungryong Jaeon, this film departs from the tale with its own drama and shocking plot points. A Tale of Two Sisters does not shy away from horror and tragedy, its boldness earning it Best Picture at the Fantasporto Film Festival in 2004, and the recognition of being the first South Korean film to be shown in American cinemas. Meticulous and calculated attention to detail, down to set design, color, costume, and shot composition, combined with multiple twists, make A Tale of Two Sisters a film to remember. This film was requested to us by friends of the show, Chris Ontiveros, Michael Newting, Brittany Ramatar, Andy Terrell, Noreen S., Sidem, Jasmine, and Blaine Hancock. We want to thank all of them for their support as well as for this suggestion. So, what did you guys think of A Tale of Two Sisters the first time you saw it?
I know you showed me this movie. I remember we watched it, but I didn't remember a lot of it because we only watched it the once.
Yeah.
Watching it for the show, I did start to remember bits and pieces of it. This movie's crazy.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
Mm-hmm.
Almost too sad for me.
For him.
Yeah, for me.
For you.
But it's a really good movie. Really, really good movie. I was surprised how I still was surprised at certain things, and I was like, I've already seen this, but god damn. I was like, so obviously it did have an effect on me. Even seeing it the first time and not remembering it totally, it still stuck in my mind.
I think I was in the same boat. I'd only watched this once before.
Mm-hmm.
I unfortunately watched the American remake first.
What?
Yeah, which I wouldn't.
So it was great?
I wouldn't recommend that.
I've never seen it.
I mean, watch it. Let me know what you think. The story changes. The story changes.
Oh.
And so there is a portion of this film that is not a part of that film at all. But again, I watched that when it came out, so I was probably like 15, 16 or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't remember what year it came out.
Yeah.
But so I could have been any age.
Yeah. I was like, but we pinned it on 15 or 16.
Well, because I feel like I was a kid. I just feel like a kid watching it. But when I finally watched this version, the original version, I was like, oh, so that's what that should have been.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So there's artistry involved. But the thing about it is that this film for me is just so well crafted.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk a little bit in a moment about some certain things that stand out, I think, once we get started with the plot summary.
Right.
But I just think the thing is everything means something.
Yeah.
And you go back and you rewatch it. This is one of the films that have a great rewatch value. Mm-hmm. I think my main issue with the film, because I think it might border from like to love on this film.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have an issue that holds things back for me a little bit, and it's their desire to do a little too much. And by that I mean when we're getting to the like the last act of the film, and I don't mind confusion,
Right.
until when then they finally explain everything.
Yeah.
But what I do mind is when we start feeling like there's a hat on a hat.
Yeah.
And when we get to this point where it's like, oh wow, that's fucking wild. Oh wait, there's more space dust on here. And it kind of keeps going. There's like 4 or 5 times. And I think that maybe 3 or 4 times
I agree.
would have been more successful for me.
Right.
And there's a plot point that I might completely cut.
Okay,
Ooh,
I'm very excited
okay.
to hear that.
But I do like this film a lot, despite the thing I just said.
I had only seen this once as well when John Paul and I watched it together, because in the people who requested it to us, Chris and Brittany had recommended it specifically to me in different conversations. So I was like, they both have very good taste in movies.
Mm-hmm.
John Paul and I do our movie nights. I put it in there. The only thing about our movie nights is sometimes we have to start it very late and I'm very tired. And so like you said, it's twist, twist, twist. One really big aspect of the twist ending, I don't think that I fully digested when I watched this the first time.
No, that I gotta admit, rewatching it for the show, that shocked the hell out of me.
I was like, am
Yeah.
I dumb? I don't think that I fully comprehended that aspect of it. So for me, definitely, I can say I love this film. And I'm queen too much, so I don't even mind that. But wait, there's more, there are a couple aspects that are still, even after really trying to analyze and dig in and fully comprehending the ending this time, that I'm still a little bit confused about. And the thing is, we've already said it's a twist ending, and I feel like it's one that maybe could be considered overdone at this point. But
in 2003,
not only that, but if this was made this year, the way that they do it, it's like while the credits are rolling, you're like, I need to fucking watch that again. I need to watch that knowing what I know now. So, I mean, I feel like it is just calculated and measured and precise. I saw a really short interview with Kim Jee-woon where he said that people were saying it was lazy and that basically it was confusing because it wasn't fully fleshed out. And he's like, no, like you're meant to be confused watching the things that are happening through the perspective and a lot of times of the characters. Everybody's fucking confused. Like, why are you special? Like, he didn't say that, but you know what I mean?
What, to the critics specifically?
Yeah. Why do you get to, have the cheat sheet? You're supposed to be confused. And then you're like fed these little moments of clarity where slowly the full picture is coming into play. But again, I feel like this film, you literally have to watch it more than once because it's a bomb that keeps exploding.
And in all fairness, I just think that whenever you do feel that confusion in a movie, sometimes it's very interesting to have that surreal, almost dreamlike experience.
Yeah.
And for them too, they basically explain everything to you at the end.
Yeah, they do.
So it's not as if the critic was like, there is nothing here for me.
I would tell the critic, watch it again.
Yeah.
You just didn't get the ending the first time.
Let's watch it again, man.
Yeah, I don't get lazy out of this at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
I think it's the amount of the attention to detail, like you talked about in your intro.
Yeah.
That's the exact opposite of laziness.
Yeah.
So no, whoever that critic was, no.
I know.
And real quick, you said there's an American remake of this?
Yeah, The
It's-
Uninvited.
Yes.
Oh, it's named Old Boy got a remake too, wasn't it? Thanos, right? He was
Yes,
going in
yeah.
there, and he was all right.
Yeah.
Was that any good or not?
I don't know what that has to do with this. But no, it wasn't
Well,
good
no.
at all.
Let's just talk about American remakes
Well,
for a little bit.
No, and that was Spike Lee that did that.
Really?
Old Boy remake, and it was not good.
All
Well,
right.
measuring it up to Old Boy, I mean, you just
Yeah,
can't.
no,
You
Yeah.
can't.
But well, the reason I bring it up is because this. I don't get lazy out of this movie, even though it is not really my fit, but it is good. I can't deny that. And you can see all the love and attention that went into it. Like, there's even stuff that I noticed, and we'll talk about it later, that I was looking and I was like, oh, T's gonna comment on that. Or you know what? It's like this movie is very well put together.
Yes.
So lazy, that still blows my mind.
Yeah, I'm just surprised to even hear that.
Yeah. and
that word.
Yeah.
That.
in the interview, he was just smoking a cigarette and talking about it casually. I'd be like, and they said I was lazy. And I put so much work into this. I'd just be like sobbing.
I'm retiring from film.
You will never see this face again.
I did want to talk because I'd watched an interview with him as well where he was talking about his ideas going into the film.
Yeah.
And it is such an interesting thing because there are these moments of pure horror, but the way that he described his thought process, he had said that he was starting first looking at it as a character drama.
Yeah.
And then he said that rather than doing a film outside of the horror genre, he wanted to change the things inside of the horror genre.
Okay.
And when you think of it that way, you do see it and it makes sense.
Yeah.
The way he put it was using genre conventions to suit the story he wanted to tell instead of catering his story to suit these genre conventions.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's,
More people should do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an inspired way to look
Yeah,
at it.
Yeah. And I think it comes out with a very impressive tone throughout. Very suspenseful and tense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You either feel like something terrible has happened, will happen, or is happening.
All of them.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
constantly.
All three.
But he did say two influences I saw in another interview: surrealism of David Lynch
Okay.
and the use of color of Dario Argento.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
you stepped on a joke I'm going to make earlier because there's a red closet, and I was like, T, so this is a Giallo film, yes?
God damn it.
And you were going to get so mad.
I'm
and it was
already
gonna be
angry.
So
Listen to episode 119, Blood and Black Lace, where I describe what a giallo is. It's more than the color red.
I haven't
Yeah.
listened to that one yet.
Oh. You were only there. So
I did want to talk a little bit about the folk tale that this is based off of.
Right.
And speaking of based off of, I don't mean to jump all over the place, but this film was a major influence on the film Goodnight Mommy.
Really?
Yeah. There's
Okay.
another American remake.
You
Yeah.
know, you also mentioned, I think it was on our episode for Us, that this was one of the films that Jordan Peele had his cast watch.
Oh,
Okay.
As
I said it and I don't remember it. That's
so
amazing.
I guess I don't feel bad that you don't remember what I said.
Please don't.
But the folktale you're talking about,
Yeah.
I heard that it was, I read in Variety actually, that this is like the 5th or 6th adaptation of this tale, but
Oh,
it's done so differently.
Yeah, it's a super popular folktale in Korea, I guess, and it has been adapted a lot. And this one, I was like, should I talk about it at the end or should I talk about it at the beginning? But I feel like it's so different that we can talk about it at the beginning. But basically, and I'll just do like the Cliff Notes version. But there's a mother, a father, and they have 2 little girls. You know. Two sisters,
Right.
And the mother passes away. So the father remarries, you know, the evil stepmother, and she hates the 2 girls. She hates them, and she has 2 older sons.
Okay.
And so when they grow up, and the older daughter wants to get married, or she's engaged to be married, the father is excited and he wants to pay for the wedding, and the stepmother is like, no, that money should go to my boys. Like, why are you spending it on your daughter or whatever? She doesn't tell him that. She and I'll leave out the detail on how she did this because it's gross and whatever. We're still in the intro, we don't need it. But she kind of sabotages the daughter, again, this is a different time, saying that she had premarital sex, basically. And the father believes her, and she's humiliated because it's a lie, and she runs off into the woods. So I guess the stepmother kind of knew that she was going to do that and has her oldest son waiting in the woods for her, and he pushes her into a pond.
Oh.
And she drowns. But, and, whatever, while he's out there doing this, a tiger comes out and bites one arm and one leg off of the son.
That.
All right.
What a day.
Yeah. No shit.
The stepmother is mad. And
How dare you get
That's
attacked by a tiger?
Yeah.
How is she mad?
she takes it out on the remaining daughter.
Oh.
So she abuses the daughter, and then the daughter is found in the pond as well.
All right.
So the daughters, as the story goes on, start haunting the mayor. And I guess the mayor of the town is not doing what they want. And so the mayor is found dead. And then a new mayor comes, and then that one's found dead. And then a new mayor comes, and then that one's found dead. And then finally another guy comes in, and the girls visit him, and he listens to them. And they tell him what happened, and he investigates the claims and finds out that the stepmother and the oldest son lied and conspired, and he sentences them to death. Mm-hmm. And the father, he was like, well, clearly you knew nothing of this, so you're free to go. And then the father remarries another woman.
Yeah.
And when on his wedding night, the daughters visit him and say, now that everything is in place, we'll come back to you. And so then with his new wife, he has twin girls, and he names them after the original daughters. So it's kind of like, and then the thing that I read was like, and they all lived happily ever after.
Was the guy who yeah. Was the man who figured it out Thanos?
No.
Yeah,
We're not doing
No, we're not.
the American remake of Old Boy.
It was directed by Spike Lee.
Yes.
All right.
But this folktale was directed by Spike Lee.
Very cool.
But that is the story that this was based off of, or not based off of, but inspired by.
Completely different.
Yeah, that's why I was
yeah.
I think I can kind of give a rundown at the top because there are sisters in it.
Yeah, but
and
I would have remembered the tiger part.
Yeah. Was he watching and waiting?
He was like, "Don't be doing that."
Yeah.
Did you just push her?
That's the tiger. He's great.
Yeah. Was the tiger Thanos?
No.
No, it was that guy.
Get to the spoiler alert.
Now, before we regret this film, we would like to issue a warning for spoilers. Podmortem is a very in-depth podcast, and in thoroughly discussing horror films, we have no choice but to spoil a thing or two. If you don't wish to be spoiled, please go watch the film, then come back and enjoy the show. If you've already seen the film or don't care about spoilers, then let's go back home. Before the film begins, we get the credits. They appear over a floral backdrop as ghostly words that appear and quickly blow away. These names appear in white until we get to the title card in red, A Tale of Two Sisters. It too blows away and we fade to black.
The opening title is beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the wallpaper is a very interesting thing that comes into play later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the red of the title.
Mm-hmm.
You know the
Giallo.
Well, no.
Jello.
We all love both those things. All three of those things. All I was trying to say is that I believe that the original name of the folktale, the two names translate to red flower and red lotus.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And so the color red is very important.
Right.
And I'll talk about that a little more later.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the film opens on a bowl of water. A doctor, played by Lee Dae-yeon, washes his hands in the water.
Yeah.
I put it like that.
Is there soap in here?
No.
Antiseptic, something that kind of.
Antiseptic.
I'm just saying. What do you?
Maybe that was straight alcohol in the bowl.
He's like, I forgot I sliced my finger yesterday. I got a paper cut. You ever learn of a paper cut with hand sanitizer?
Oh yeah.
That, or I have to cut lemons a lot at work, or I used to have to cut them all the time, and that's when it's like, oh fuck, yeah, that's horrible.
We can hear you in the
In the dining room. Is she okay?
yeah. Someone cutting lemons back there with cuts in their hand.
But the doctor stands and dries his hands quietly and patiently waits as footsteps approach. A nurse brings in a woman who has her head down and her hair covering her face. She sits down in a chair and the nurse quickly exits. The doctor sits down across from the patient and the two sit in silence as the doors close loudly behind the nurse.
This entire portion of this opening sequence is when I knew immediately how methodical the pacing was going to be.
Yeah.
where every bit of sound design, every moment is accounted for. And it's just very, I could see this being classified as a slow burn.
Yeah.
For me, I really like that they take their time with just about everything.
It feels like, and there's a lot of moments, especially as we go later on, where he's making you sit in that tension.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh no, nothing's jumping out, nothing's rushing. Like, you're going to sit here and feel what it is. You know what I mean? It's wow.
It's like, it's a welcome discomfort.
Yeah.
And I know that I asked that I find that movie, the slow burn, and this, I'm not 100% confident that I want to say this is that movie, but this is close.
Hey.
Yeah. This is close. So I'm not a fan of the slow burn.
Right.
But this did keep me engaged the entire time.
That's all we could hope for.
Yeah. But finally, the doctor asks how the woman's day was. She gives no response, but the doctor places a recorder between them and insists that they talk. He asks that she tell him about herself, and he asks, who do you think you are? Not like, who do you think you are, but like, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
Which is concerning.
Yeah. That was one thing as well with the way that it was shot, because her hair is covering her face for the whole thing.
Yeah.
I was wondering if this is planting the seeds of a twist already to be like, we don't even know who she is.
Yeah.
So very interesting.
Yeah, I did. For right now, I was like, oh, so I'm waiting for so you're probably wondering how I got here.
The record
yeah,
scratch.
and I was like, okay, so this is, we're fixing to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And that created a bit of confusion for me as far as chronology.
I was going to say, when is this taking place?
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident that I know now, but I mean, that is a big, you know, I can't say much.
Yeah.
But when she still doesn't reply, he sighs and picks up a picture. He turns it around to show her a family, a father, a mother, 2 sisters, and a woman standing behind the father's shoulder dressed in white. He asks if she knows who it is. The woman lifts her head, but still doesn't reply. The doctor tells her that it's her family and asks if she wants to see it again. He holds it out to her, but she doesn't take it. The doctor finally just sets it down. He asks if she can tell him about that day, and we finally face the woman, her face still shrouded by her hair. The doctor tells her that she should be able to remember what happened that day. He assures her that it's okay from now on and that she can tell him what happened. The woman finally raises her head slowly, and mellow music begins to play.
So this mellow music you've described.
I mean, I describe it as mellow, whimsical. It's incredible.
Oh, yeah.
It starts, it's just like a waltz of acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And then these strings come in. It's very beautiful.
Yeah.
The composer was Byung-woo Lee.
Okay.
He also did music for Bong Joon-ho's The Host.
Okay.
Oh.
But this soundtrack of this film is brilliant.
Yeah.
And I love every bit of it.
No, it's stunning. And I was thinking, I've been watching this a lot, that it made me think of something that would be in a Studio Ghibli film.
Yeah.
And then we were talking this morning, and John Paul said the exact same thing. I know some people say Ghibli. I say Ghibli. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it like GIF and GIF?
Yeah.
What do you say?
GIF.
Good.
Good. No, but it does. It has this like whimsy, but also a little bit sad. I don't know how to.
I love the music.
Yeah.
I will say that. But in how wonderful it is, for me, sometimes I'm like, this is a little too whimsical.
Like there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say it hurt, because I love the music and I did enjoy this movie. But it for me, I was just like, is this really the tone of, certain times when stuff happens, I was like,
But I feel like that adds to like a duality or I'm trying to be careful what I say.
No, yeah.
Well, but there's also like that feeling of the whimsy you're talking about, which is kind of present in folk tales.
Yeah.
Yeah?
So-
Okay, yeah.
That's a fair point too. But the whimsical music continues as it segues to our view looking out of a window of a moving car. The car continues down the road until it comes to a large house. A man opens the gate for them and they park. The driver gets out of the car and starts to head toward the house. He is Moo Hyun, played by Kim Kap-soo. The man starts toward the house, but stops, realizing that he's the only one that got out of the car. He walks back to the window and asks if whoever is inside is coming out. He walks away from the car again and heads inside.
This was a very cool moment of cinematography to me because as we start the film, you think it's just, scenic shots of this drive to this home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then you realize in this moment that it was POV.
Yeah.
And that's important.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you why.
Yeah. We'll get there. But once he's gone, the door finally opens and out steps the patient, Soo-mi, played by Lim Soo-jung, and her sister, Soo-yeon, played by Moon Gen-young. The theme continues as they look at the house in front of them.
So these are the two sisters we've heard so much about.
The namesake. Yes. The music stops and Soo-mi sighs deeply. Soo-yeon runs off to a plant growing by the house. She rips a fruit from the vine, opens it, and eats a piece, but she promptly spits it out. We were talking this morning. What is this? If you know, please let us know.
Yeah.
I think they were Carolina Reapers.
That
That's why
bitch
she
is
spit it
brave,
out.
dude.
Yeah. Soo Young was, she
Yeah.
went over there and was like, get some of this.
Sean Evans is like, we're going to need you to explain that, Greg.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what it was, and when she
Yeah.
spit it out, but then when we return,
Yeah, she's eating more.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that just leads me to believe she got a bad one. She knows
Yeah.
that these are tasty.
it's supposed to taste like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, that one wasn't.
Okay.
So is it a fruit? Is
I
it
don't
an
know.
edible
I
flower?
want to try some of it.
I know.
It-
The way she peeled it open,
Yeah.
I was like, what is that?
It came in its own wrapping.
Nature's candy.
Yeah.
Soo-mi continues wandering around, lingering by an abandoned swing set. She looks up at a second floor balcony before calling out to her sister and extending her hand. Soo-yeon smiles as she rushes and grabs her hand, and the two take off running out of the gate as the whimsical music begins again. They laugh as they run down the country road hand in hand. At the end of a pier, they both swing their bare feet in the water, sitting in silence. Soo-mi lies back on the wood of the dock with a smile on her face. She comments on how pretty it is, but Soo-yeon doesn't reply. Instead, she looks down at her feet, still slowly kicking in the water. Soo-mi looks at her own palms for a moment before sitting up and telling her sister to let her see her hands. She stares at the palms of both of Soo-yeon's hands, and she smiles slightly, and Soo-yeon asks what she's seeing. Soo-mi looks back at her sister's hands, and the smile drops from her face, but she makes no comment. This is something that I had completely missed when I watched it before.
Yeah. And it's again.
Yeah.
I wanted to call out how beautiful this property is.
Yeah.
I was just watching it kind of in awe. It's funny to me. I don't know what it is, but films that take place in other countries, I am so captivated and fascinated
Yeah.
by the simplest things. This might just be a standard farmhouse or whatever, but I'm like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen
It's gorgeous.
in my life. But another thing that I did want to talk about is the fact that we're so kind of caught off guard by chronology. He said, the doctor, tell me about that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, we're flashing back to that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this day is them moving into this new house. We quickly learn it's not true.
Right.
But there already starts that feeling of confusion.
Yeah.
But it's a good confusion.
Yeah. Well, because you're pretty much led to believe one thing, and it's like, well, it's like setting the tone, because it's like you're going to be off balance for the next hour and a half.
Yeah. And
off balances.
Yeah.
I'm honestly as well, when you think that this is the potential of moving into a new house, I'm like, okay, so we're going to get that archetypal angry teen character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never happens.
No.
Because that's not the case at all.
Yeah.
Right.
But a voice calls out for Soo-mi. The sisters pluck their feet from the water, gather their shoes, and run back to the house as the theme plays again. It stops, though, as they step into the darkness of the house, still holding hands. I keep mentioning the music because it's played at such precise moments that when it stops, it's like, oh, I mean, like you feel it.
Yeah.
It's like the air drops out of the...
Yeah.
You definitely notice it.
Yeah. But all is silent until Eun-ju, played by Yum Jung-ah, comes walking toward them very quickly. She's like gliding toward them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She calls out to the sisters, telling Soo-yeon that she looks so much prettier now. When she finally stands in front of them, she tells them that they did disappoint her because she cooked and cleaned and waited all day for them, and they couldn't even say hi first. She says that they went down to the wharf and lightly chastises them for not changing their clothes before going outside. Putting that to the side, with a smile, she welcomes them back home. The sisters continue to hold hands and don't say anything. Eun-ju looks down at their hands, and when she starts to reach towards Soo-yeon shrinks away from her. This makes Eun-ju laugh, but she tells her that she sees that she's better and she's glad she's feeling good. With a serious face, she tells her that she takes after her mom. Sumi stares at her when she says this, and Eun-ju turns to her and asks, "You're feeling a lot better too, right?" The whole thing is weird.
Yeah.
Especially you take after your mom. You know, but Sumi just walks away from this, still holding her sister's hand and taking her with her. Eun-ju trails after them until they reach the stairs. She stays and calls up at them, saying that they must be tired and to get rest because she's preparing a special dinner. She says that they need to give her some time because there's a lot to prepare. And again, they ignore her. As they disappear up the stairs, Eun-ju just stands quietly at the bottom, which was like weird.
Yeah, I was gonna. Am I the only one that felt like she was being threatening?
Like a vague, like passive threatening?
She's got a
Like,
weird
it was
energy.
weird. Yeah, I just felt. I don't know if maybe I was just looking at it from the kid's point of view, or what. I was like, man, you're being a little like you're being a little weird.
Well, I don't know if I just perceive things completely differently because I wrote down stepmother seems sweet.
Yeah, no.
That was my first
For me,
note.
I think it's like you said, John Paul, is that if you're just looking at her
Yeah.
and she's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're feeling better. I've been cooking and cleaning all day. Why didn't you come say hi?" Da 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 da. It's fine, but you're looking at the way that they're reacting to her,
Yeah.
and there's a disconnect there. Like either this is not how you normally act, or you're putting on like something is weird.
That's how I took. I was like, the kids are not really responding
At
right
all.
to her. What is something? Because that's my note. So she's going to be a problem, or question mark? Because they are. Well,
It's a question.
Because it doesn't seem like she's being. I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But looking at it, like I said, from the kids, how they were responding to her, I was like, you guys are not. This doesn't seem friendly at all to y'all. So like you said, passive aggressive, or it's like, what's going on?
I think to me, I just went back to the old idea of the fable and the folktale, where the stepmother is immediately perceived as something evil.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, she seems nice, so that's strange.
Yeah.
Okay.
But maybe she is, and it's a subversion. You know, I'm trying to...
Yeah.
No,
who knows?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I did want to make mention at this point, though, especially because of the line of her saying that they hadn't changed their clothes.
Yeah.
I watched a video from Speakema Films, and I read an article from No Film School by Alyssa Miller.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about A Tale of Two Sisters and their use of mise en scène, which basically is a French word that just means everything that you see on screen coming together.
Okay.
So we're talking about the art direction of Cho Gun-hyun and the costume design of Ok Sung-young, and the direction of Kim, the cinematography, everything coming together to tell the story and kind of clue us in on everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Because there is that marriage of the set design, of the costume design, the cinematography, and it gives the audience insight into so much
Yeah.
that you don't realize until you rewatch the film.
Yeah.
And I think that line of her talking about the clothes was very important because you start to maybe focus on the clothes.
Yeah.
You start to think of maybe who's wearing what, especially who's wearing what color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That part.
And
Okay.
it all comes into play. The colors that they pointed out, red, pale blue, light brown, and floral patterns.
A lot
Yeah.
of floral patterns.
Yeah, I did notice that. Now that you mentioned it, I did notice that.
Even on the wallpaper.
Yeah.
And the most interesting thing that I didn't even consider was the contrast with certain characters versus the father.
Yeah.
And that's
Okay.
also important.
Yeah.
So all of this coming together, you realize, and this is where I'm talking about that critic saying lazy,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
unbelievable.
what?
Yeah.
because there's so much work that goes into stuff like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why he could just confidently sit there and smoke a cigarette and be like, okay, bitch, like whatever.
Talk your shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What movie were you watching? But Sumi goes into her bedroom alone. She opens the windows, illuminating the dark room with sunlight. There's a clock on the wall, and Sumi opens it, sets the proper time, and gets the pendulum going so a constant tick continues.
The way that the camera presses in on the clock, I was like, is this, because it was 2:35.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, I don't know if this is meant to be symbolic.
Right.
Does this time come up later?
Right.
And, I never got an answer on that.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I feel like the concept of time and chronology is kind of its own thing here.
Just on its own?
Yeah. But Sumi goes into her suitcase, pulls out 2 notebooks, and opens her desk to put them away. When she pulls the desk open, there's a light musical sting when there are identical notebooks with an identical pen on top already sitting there. Sumi sets her notebooks down.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is, again, we're starting to feel a little surreal.
Yeah.
And this is not the last time that we're going to have a moment like this. So, I mean, you're just like, what the fuck? Already, we've been home for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah, and I know this is small, but that tiny little her opening the desk and her shit being there already, I was like, oh, you know what I mean? I was like, something's not right.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Already.
bode well.
Yeah, I was like, no.
And that's the tension we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that that's scary without being outwardly so.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, 'cause it's notebooks
Yeah.
and a pen, but
Well-
you're like already uneasy.
How am I here already? I just got here.
Yeah.
Well,
But she looks around the room confused before going to the red wardrobe next to the bedroom door. Giallo.
hey.
She opens it quickly, revealing it to be filled with several identical shirts and several identical skirts. She stares at the clothing, mystified.
Unless she's a cartoon character, this is a problem.
Yeah.
A big
Or school uniforms.
Yeah, but
Yeah. No, yeah.
you
That's
know,
not a school uniform.
No.
No. And you got to have clothes outside of that.
You would hope.
Yeah.
I mean, my wardrobe looks a lot like that.
Black shirt, black shirt, black shirt.
Are you Homer?
Yes.
Later, we follow Eunju as she goes down the hall with fresh folded clothes. She goes into a bedroom and picks up more fresh clothes from the bed, but when she goes into the next room and finds another set identical to the one she just picked up, folded neatly, ominous music plays and she throws it in the trash.
See, and that's an overreaction.
Yeah.
We've seen that duplicates of clothes are fine.
Yeah.
You can keep them.
They're still
Yeah.
clean and pressed and folded.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck this.
I only had one note and I said, what's going on with the clothes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, emphasis on clothes.
Yeah, already. Yeah.
So, keep up.
Keep up.
Or try to. I know. The second watch is revealing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in his office, Moo Hyun talks on the phone. He tells the person on the other end that they just got back and that things don't look so good right now. He tells him that it wouldn't be much help if they came. After a door thuds elsewhere in the house, he says that he needs to go. Before he hangs up, though, he asks the person how they're doing and tells them that Sun Q is bringing his wife over for dinner. He assures the person on the other end that he will take care of it and ends the call. He puts a cigarette in his mouth, but when he can't find a lighter, he throws it away angrily.
Why'd you even take it out?
His sharing of these future dinner plans, that also is very interesting
Yeah.
with what we hear later.
What we hear in like a minute.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like...
It's the next scene, I think.
It is.
Well, it's later.
Yeah.
That's
I was gonna say,
true.
well, that's a little later.
Technically, it's later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very confusing and very conflicting. I wonder if maybe whatever critics had an issue with this, if that's what if they saw these as like accidental inconsistencies, maybe, if that's why. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I feel like a lot of times, a lot of critics kind of look for what they consider to be plot holes,
Yeah.
but they don't realize a lot of the time that a lot of them are filled in.
Yeah.
It just takes, you have to, and honestly, if I'm watching this film just as me watching this film, there's a good chance that I might be like super confused and end up with a different conclusion at the end of it.
Right.
But watching the film the way that we have to watch the film to cover it for the show,
Yeah.
you pick up on lines like that that you might have missed.
Yeah.
And you realize that, oh no, everything was meticulously planned.
Yep.
Yeah.
That night, all 4 of them sit in the dining room eating. Everyone is silent, and Eun-ju looks around at them dejectedly. She strikes up conversation, telling Moo-hyun that she invited Sun Kyu and his wife over for dinner this weekend. He reacts as if he doesn't know.
Yeah.
And Eun-ju continues that it will be nice for him to see the girls after so long. Moo-hyun sighs, finishes his meal, and tells her that it was delicious, but he has things to tend to. He offers his apologies, and in his generosity, he tells Eun-ju that she must be tired so she can clean all this tomorrow.
Okay. So, dude, I gotta be honest. I gasped at this. First of all, I was like, did Moo-hyun just Einstein her?
Yeah, no, that was just, I was like, he's going to turn off the light.
Yeah, he did.
Just leave them to eat in the dark. Yeah. But I thought what he was going to say is like, because she had just said that she had spent all day cooking.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to say, you must be tired. Oh.
Yeah.
But he's like, you must be tired. You can do it tomorrow.
Just do it first thing in the morning.
Leave it as long as it gets done.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus Christ. Clean it up yourself, dude.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a way of showing gratitude.
That's your wife.
Yes.
But he leaves the table. Eun-ju turns her frustrations to Soo-mi. She brings up Soo-mi preparing Moo-hyun's undergarments and thanks her, but says that that's her job. So she put out her dad's like underwear and stuff, and that's what she threw in the trash because she's supposed to do that.
But it's just laundry, man. Just
It
do
is.
the laundry.
Yeah.
You helped.
Yeah.
And in all fairness, I mean, when you think about it, when did she even have time to do that? Is the other question.
Soo-mi?
Yeah.
That's an excellent question.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
But Soo-mi counters that cleaning her room is her job and asks why Eun-ju touched her things. You went through our things? Eun-ju says that that's how it was before. But Soo-mi asks if those clothes were hanging there before, and Eun-ju gives no reply.
A weird kind of intermingling of responsibility that seems just a matter at this point of almost being territorial.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But again,
The way that Eun-ju and Moo-hyun interact with each other,
yes.
I'm like, oh, our marriage is not great. It's not where it's supposed to be right now.
Mm-hmm.
And now these girls are coming in. I mean, it just feels like there's a lot of tension. And this is my husband. I'm doing this for him. You don't need to come in and do that. It's like you said, a weird territorial thing.
Yeah.
Like you had said, family drama.
Yes.
That's what it's like. Is how long were y'all away for that he's bringing you back, and it's just been me and him, and now you're, that's what it feels like. It's very off and like strained.
Like growing pains again.
Yeah. But wordlessly, Moo-hyun comes back into the room. He sits 2 white pills next to Eun-ju and fills her glass with water before walking off. Once he's gone, Soo-mi abruptly tells her stepmother that she's not having dinner with that guy. Eun-ju reminds her that Sun Kyu isn't just some guy, he's her uncle. She reasons that it's the first day and to just give it a rest. This is when I'm like, I kind of feel bad for her. Because her husband was low-key mean to her. He Einsteined her.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And now she's like, I'm not having dinner. She's just like, please, like, it's your first day back. Like, can we not? Like, you were out of pocket for throwing the laundry away. You know what I mean? You're not perfect. But that it did kind of, I was like, damn, dude, like, this lady's going through it. That's how I took it.
I still am siding with Soo-mi. I'm still looking at it through... I'm like, why are you being an asshole to the kid? And what's the dad's deal? Why is he being a fucking dickhead?
Well, I thought that the pill drop was very cold.
Yeah,
it was
weird.
extremely.
What is it? What the fuck are you giving her?
Well,
what is that?
Like, no matter what it is, in my head, this is your spouse.
Yeah.
Put a loving hand on their shoulder as you drop them. Or as you're leaving the room.
Yeah.
But he's just like,
here's some
water. Yeah. Oh, I forgot. Here's these.
Yeah.
Then he leaves again.
With
no word.
Nothing, nothing at all.
And so, and again, it all makes sense later.
Yeah.
But at this time, you're just like, man, what is going on with this family?
This family is not in a good spot.
No.
But without another word, Soo-mi sets her spoon down and leaves the table. Eun-ju looks expectantly at Soo-yeon. She asks if she's going to go after Soo-mi because she's supposed to follow her. So Soo-yeon does. Eun-ju is left alone at the table.
I felt that moment from Critters. She's like, thank you, Eun-ju, for making this delicious dinner.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like, Jesus, man.
Soo-yeon climbs the stairs to find Soo-mi sitting at the top waiting for her with a smile. They walk down the hall together and Soo-mi asks her sister if Eun-ju said anything to her. Soo-yeon shakes her head, but Soo-mi tells her that if she ever gets on her case to tell her and not ignore it like before. Soo-yeon nods in agreement. Downstairs, Eun-ju lovingly tells her pet bird goodnight before pulling the cover over its cage. She turns all the lights off before going into her bedroom.
I, of course, having not seen the film in a long time and not knowing anything about anything, the second I saw a bird, I said, that's a dead bird squawking.
Very good.
And if that bird flies out of this alive, that will be hard for me to be cleave.
It's a little hard to swallow.
It's also a bird. You crow it.
John Paul just looks defeated.
Yeah.
I'll wait. I'll wait.
No, we talked about that the other week.
I'll wait.
I'll wait.
He's like a mad teacher.
Yeah.
No, you go ahead. I'll wait.
Get it out of your system.
We talked about that the other week. Anytime you see a pet, you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I should have said when you started joking with me is two can play at that game. Anyway, we make an excellent pair. What happens next?
I'm still waiting.
All right.
Still waiting.
Sorry.
Well, next, in his office, Moo-hyun sits in silence holding a video camera. Now, there was a dropped plot point of Moo-hyun setting up video cameras all around the house so that he could monitor what was going on when he was at work. And they cut it.
Oh.
Okay.
So this is the only little piece left of what that was supposed to be, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you have that with our understanding of the family now, it seems very overbearing.
Yeah. Scary. It villainizes Moo-hyun.
Yeah.
It might be too much.
For sure. I'm glad that they took that out. But Eun-ju sits in the mirror removing her lipstick, and when she hears something, she takes off her robe and rushes over to the bed in her gown. She gets into it and carefully smooths out the blankets and her hair before picking up a book and looking like she's been reading. Just as she finishes her positioning, we see Moo-hyun enter in the reflection of the mirror.
Something I did want to mention, the book had a red cover.
Mm-hmm.
The lighting in this sequence of really from the bird business all the way to the bedroom, very interesting with the color choices. Yeah. I did want to call out the cinematographer, Mo-gai Lee. He also shot I Saw the Devil, which was also directed by Kim.
Shut the fuck up. I love that movie.
Yeah.
Nice.
The premise of it, we always laugh about.
Yeah.
But
well, because you think you keep thinking it's over.
It's not what you think it's going to be.
No, not at all.
I want to cover that one. That is a great, great movie.
I think that's a thriller that borders into horror.
For sure.
Okay.
Have you ever seen it?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
No, it's really great.
I think you'll like it.
Yeah. Soo-mi and Soo-yeon sleep in their respective bedrooms, but in his bedroom, Moo-hyun lies fully clothed next to his sleeping wife. After a moment, he elects to go to his office and sleep in a chair, and then we get shots of the dark and silent house at night. This is when it's like, what is going on?
Mm-hmm. And again...
Yeah, because it's like he only got in bed to placate her, and he's like, I don't want to fucking sleep in here. It's strange.
He still had his full clothes on.
Yeah.
He didn't even get in pajamas.
You were not going to bed.
Yeah.
But later, Eun-ju is awoken by the sound of heavy footsteps running. She sits at the edge of her bed and stretches her neck.
The way this is shot is terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like Eun-ju is possessed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I was worried. I was like, maybe she's not as nice as I am.
In Soo-yeon's room, we get a lingering shot of her wardrobe before she is also woken up by a sound. When she looks at her bedroom door, it begins to creak open loudly. She cowers, pulling the blankets over her face as fingers reach in and curl around the door. Soo-yeon turns away from the door, hiding her face in her blankets, but the blankets are quietly pulled off of her. There is a long moment of tension as she continues to lay there with her eyes closed. There's a thud, and she finally opens them, but she finds herself alone in the room. When she looks at the bedroom door, it's closed. Wrapped in her blanket, she steps out into the hallway and runs to her sister's room. Now, this is because it's already a bit confusing.
Mm-hmm.
These moments, I'm like, okay, this is what I know. This is horror that I know. You
Yes.
know what I mean?
Not to say that it feels conventional,
Right.
but it feels like what you would expect.
We get
Yeah.
these little tastes, and there's a few more later where it's like a more traditional presentation of horror, and you feel a little more in your wheelhouse, so to speak, and then it snatches it right away, and we're
Yeah.
back in the drama and the confusion of it. The way that it's just like these little breadcrumbs of I know what y'all came for. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's so like masterful to me.
It is. This whole little thing of being in her room was scary because
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, what's gonna happen? All right, what's going on? And that was my note. I'd be freaked the fuck out too.
Yes.
Like me, even as a grown ass man, I'm running to somebody's bed and something. That was fucking scary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We didn't even really see much, but
Yeah, it was enough.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Sumi wakes up with her sister in her bed, hiding fearfully under the blankets. Sumi asks what's wrong and if she had a nightmare, but Soo-yeon shakes her head. Sumi asks if it's the wardrobe, and she shakes her head again. She asks what's wrong then, and Soo-yeon finally speaks. This is the first time she's spoken.
Yeah.
She tells her sister that she keeps hearing strange noises outside. Sumi laughs at this and smooths Soo-yeon's hair.
You hear strange noises outside. Now, that's interesting as well when you think about certain things that come later. Mm-hmm. Hearing strange noises outside.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But, and I was about to make a joke, but I stopped myself with
'Cause
that
you're like,
point.
oh,
shit. It means everything. Yeah. Because what I was going to say is we all saw that long-fingered hand reach around there. That's not a strange noise.
And it's not outside.
No,
No.
do not undersell what happened to you tonight.
But Sumi tells her that it's okay and it's just because she's been away for so long. She suggests that they just go to sleep, but Soo-yeon says that someone came into her room and Sumi's face grows very serious. She goes downstairs alone to find the TV on, displaying static in the living room. In her father's office, Sumi finds him asleep in his chair. She pulls up the blanket onto his chest and he stirs in his sleep. Sumi looks down at him and caresses his face, but she's interrupted when Eun-ju startles her.
Was anyone else afraid that he was going to say maybe breathe some smoke and then maybe his ring clatters on the floor? And the wedding video's on. And
And I'm sobbing.
I'm a bowl of tears.
Well, I think we would know how the movie's gonna end.
It's like, already? What the fuck?
Wow, we're like 30 minutes in.
But Eun-ju speaks from the doorway, telling Sumi that her father is asleep. Sumi starts for the door and says that she knows this, but Eun-ju accuses her of trying to wake her father up. She asks if she has something to tell him, but Sumi tells her that it's none of her business. Eun-ju insists that she not wake him up. She asks if she understands her, but Sumi says that she only came downstairs for water. Eun-ju warns her again that her father is sleeping, so be quiet.
Well, I don't see. This is what I'm saying. I don't under why. To me, it seems like she's just being. It's like, okay, you told me he's asleep already. You don't got to tell me 5 more times.
No, it was
Like,
a
what?
lot. It was
Okay,
a lot.
Message received.
Yeah, I got it.
As old as Sumi is,
Yeah.
you don't need that. I remember when
No.
me and T were little and our dad worked at night and was asleep during the day and our mom had to be like, guys, please keep it down.
And we're just watching Simpsons reruns. You see that jerk?
But we were little, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, she's an adult. You don't need to keep saying, he's asleep. I'm looking at him. I know he's asleep.
Yeah.
Maybe I missed my dad. I've been away.
And
Like,
plus,
it's weird.
She covered him and then caressed his face. She wasn't like, hey, get up. hey.
Get up, you old fuck.
Yeah.
Want to play a video game or something?
I want to watch The Simpsons. Dad.
Just yelling in his ear.
Yeah.
But and this is something that was just funny to me, especially where we cut in the next scene, because whenever she had said, "Oh, I just came down for a drink of water," I was like, terrible lie. Take a
Yeah.
lap.
Oh, yeah.
But then we cut to the next scene. I'm like, oh, maybe she did come
No,
down.
yeah.
No, I'm gonna make it true.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it true.
Gotta make it convincing.
That's not why she came down here, because Soo-yeon was like, somebody's in my room, and she went to investigate.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And now she's like, I was literally just thirsty.
Yeah. I better drink all this water.
But Sumi does go into the kitchen for water, as she said. Standing in front of an open fridge, she opens a bottle and drinks.
Now, it looks like she's like drinking a lot, and there's like the tiniest amount
I noticed
of
that
water
too.
that's gone. I was like, yeah, I thought you were thirsty. Because she's like chugs it. And I was like, God damn, you were thirsty. And then there's like barely any water gone.
What I think is it's got to be deceptive sound design.
Yeah.
Because they probably added in the gulps.
Because the gulps were not reflected in the bottle.
No, they
Yeah.
were not. It's a bottomless bottle.
But but after taking a long drink, she is suddenly distracted by a smell. She sniffs her water before noticing the bloody butcher paper on a shelf in the fridge. She cautiously unwraps it and screams when she sees the bloody mess inside. She drops the paper and its contents, a bloody fish carcass, onto the floor, and her scream is accompanied with a sharp musical sting.
The timing, I watched that video and they were talking about the timing of the
Yeah.
cue. The cue is like, it's not a jump scare.
No.
It's after the fact of what you've already seen. It's very interesting.
It like punctuates it.
Yeah.
Because most films it would boo, and then you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Before she even,
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm not going to lie. I'll be honest. I was a little confused at why it came after. And
Yeah.
then I was like, did you mean to do that? but you explaining that does make
Okay.
more sense.
You're like, delayed cues,
yeah, I was
lazy.
like, yeah.
Lazy
Just
film.
writing his own.
Who did this lazy
Yeah.
shit?
It took me a few times to even see what it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for saying that, because I was going to say, I couldn't tell at first, and I had to ask your sister. I was like, that was like meat or fish or something. And she was like, no, yeah, it was a fish. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Did you have to look it up or?
Yeah.
'Cause
Well,
I
I was
s-
like, what the fuck is
Yeah.
that?
I had two thoughts. I said, is that a human face? Number one.
Face.
Is that gabagool? Number two. And then I was like, I think it's a fish head.
Yeah.
Nobody's
okay,
upset to see
yeah.
Gabagool.
No,
so
no,
did that,
no.
you can cross
That's
that off
why
the
I was
list.
so confused.
A possibility.
It's like, hey, yo.
Hey. But in the dark living room, sitting in front of the static TV, Eun-ju turns her head in the direction of the scream before turning back toward the TV. It is strange.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm starting to be like, all right, I see.
Oh, you're bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only evil people watch the static of a TV screen.
Bathed in the static,
Yeah.
and she's blue. The room's blue.
Yeah.
The static is doing its thing. It's like it's kind of a. I don't mean to be punny because it's blue, but it's a chilling shot.
Right.
It really is.
But later, Sumi cuddles Soo-yeon in her bed. After confirming that she went into her room, Soo-yeon asks who was in there. Sumi says that woman was in there, referring to their stepmother. She says that it's strange. Their stepmother is strange, and so is the house. She asks her little sister if she's scared, and Soo-yeon doesn't give an answer, but Sumi consoles her anyway. She assures her that she is there and everything is all right before insisting that they go to sleep. She cuddles her and promises that she will always be with her. We slide down their blue blanket until it transitions to the curtains of Moo Hyun's office blowing in the morning breeze.
First of all, great transition.
Oh, yeah.
Secondly, I feel like the way the camera kind of dips down and reveals their clothes, their clothes are intermingled in the colors of the pajamas,
Yeah.
but the color of their blanket is the same color of Eun-ju's nightcoat.
Okay.
And so you're like, that's what I'm...
All right.
Interesting. But when the wind turns the pages of an opened book, Moo Hyun wakes up. He goes to the bedroom that he shares with Eun-ju, but he finds the sheets rumpled and the bed empty. I guess she's in the bathroom. In Sumi's room, she tosses and turns in her sleep, caught in the throes of a nightmare. In her dream, she is running through the woods. She is younger and comes across a woman. In disjointed shots, we see her looking down at her own bloody hand, a hand flopping around, and someone applying pressure to a bleeding arm. Sumi wakes, startled and gasping for air.
I was like, can this girl catch a break?
Literally.
Yeah.
Like, not even in your dreams.
Yeah. So real quick, I was watching that when I was watching this. I was like, man, that's a fucking crazy ass nightmare. And I wanted to look, and I went and looked and read an article about nightmares.
Okay.
The website, it was a Viva Center website, and they suggested that nightmares are often unmet psychological needs or frustrations with life experiences. And I was like, man, I was like, okay. And they said that a lot of the links in like common nightmares that we share about like being naked or being given a presentation or whatever, they're still not aware of why we share common nightmares like that. They said, but it's easier to tell in trauma. And they said that our nightmares tend to reflect our troubles through metaphors rather than literal representation. So it not just being like, this is what the problem is. You know what I mean? It gives us something that stresses us that way, I guess, or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, so what the fuck just happened in your dream?
Well,
So what the fuck?
That even adds some context, because even as things reveal themselves, I'm not fully what the symbolism in this dream. I mean, that again, that's what it must be, is just symbolism, not like recovered. I feel like in most films it's like, oh, I'm seeing things that are happening, and there's one thing that happened that was in there, but you know, other than that, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I think there is one symbol with the hand that is both and very indicative of something that, of course, we can't talk about yet.
Yeah. That's what it's hard.
It is very hard. But there is a decent amount of metaphor in what we're about to see too.
Yeah.
Because we'll continue, but even to the color of the clothes a person is wearing.
Yeah.
You're like, that's this, you know, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
But I love that while we're asleep, our brains are like, pretend you're at school.
But why?
Like,
Why am I so scared?
Just tell me what to work through, please.
Like, we got to make it a riddle.
But Sumi turns to look at her sister, who still seems to be asleep, with her back to her. When she hears gentle creaking, Sumi slowly scans the empty room, looking past the wardrobe and chairs, and when her eyes fall upon the foot of her bed, there is the movement of the top of someone's head crouched out of sight. This is fucking scary.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Sumi's eyes widen with fear as she watches the person continue to crawl out from the cover of the footboard. It's a woman, clear as day, her long hair concealing her face as she crawls across the floor. And so I was like, is the stepmother hiding down there? And then when you see her, that's not, stepmother has short hair. Like, this is a whole new bitch.
Oh, yeah.
Completely different person.
I think that's what scared me. I was like, what? Like, because you think the way that Unju was acting,
Right.
Yeah.
staring into the static of the TV, the way that she kind of creaked herself out of bed.
She's like, there he
Yeah.
is.
Seriously. I'm like, okay, so there's something going on to where at night she's different.
Yeah.
Right.
No. Sumi breathes heavily, drawing the attention of the woman and causing her to stop in her tracks. She sits up and slowly turns her head toward her before suddenly floating in the air, her neck bent at an unnatural angle.
Reminds me of something.
Yeah. She glides towards Sumi, who shrinks away from her. Finally, she floats right above her. A staticky score grows louder and louder as her hair parts, revealing a sliver of her face as she stares down at Sumi. Sumi looks up at her in horror and shifts her attention to the woman's legs as a thin trail of blood runs down, followed by a grasping hand falling down her leg from beneath her dress. We zoom in on the woman's face. Her eyes and mouth are suddenly red with blood. Sumi wakes up again, screaming this time. We got a classic double dream scenario.
Yeah.
Which, I gotta be honest, not my favorite.
It's not, but again, here, I didn't mind it. Normally, I'm like, all right, man, like, that's enough. One is fine.
Yeah, it's effective.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, what are you trying to tell me? Brain?
Brain?
Yeah. Again. Yeah. What does this mean?
Seriously.
Can you chill? Dude?
Yeah.
You're really scaring me.
Too scary, Brain.
Yeah.
I have some notes on that last stream.
But Sumi pants, trying to catch her breath. Downstairs, her father looks up at the sound of her scream. In her bed, Sumi inspects herself but finds herself to be clean of blood. Moo Hyun knocks on the door and lets himself in, asking if she's awake.
Take out the garbage.
She tells him that she is, but when he asks if he can come in, she tells him no. He offers for her to come downstairs and eat before leaving and closing the door behind him. Sumi gets up and opens the drapes, allowing the sunlight into the room before taking a long stretch. She looks up at her hand quizzically before returning to the bed. She pulls the blankets off of her sister to find that Soo-yeon has started her period during the night, staining the white sheets in her gown with drops of blood.
Was that what your dream was about?
A period?
Yeah.
If only it were that easy. We cut to Sumi sneaking past her sleeping stepmother into the master bedroom's adjoining bathroom. She takes pads from the tall stack in Eunju's medicine cabinet, but when she tries to sneak back out, Eunju is awake and asks what she's doing. It's like, man, we need pads, dude.
Yeah.
Like, God damn.
Can I have a moment?
Give me a break. What do you think I'm doing? She looks down at the pads in Sumi's hand and asks if she's having her period. Sumi tells her no, that Soo-yeon is. Eunju just laughs at this before somberly asking how they could all get their periods on the same day.
Once again, can't talk about it.
I mean,
But
we do be syncing up sometimes,
Yeah,
not
I was
after being
gonna
around
say.
each other for one day, but it's possible for sure. But Sumi hurries up the stairs before stopping in her tracks. In the bathroom, she realizes that she too has joined the period club. In Sumi's bedroom, Soo-yeon sits looking at the small circles of blood on the sheet. Sumi promptly comes in and strips the bed, and we cut to her sheets and one nightgown drying on the line outside.
interesting. It's so funny to me the amount of times rewatching the film that the director is like, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
This is what's happening. And we're just like, wow, man. Anyway,
Yeah.
what's next?
Yeah.
Never seen that coming. It's right there.
Yeah, I was so shocked.
No, it's not. It's not. The sisters sit on the porch beneath Eunju's bird in its cage. Well, it's two birds. I
Interesting.
noticed. Sumi whistles a song. Soo-yeon asks if that's their mom's favorite, and Sumi nods, continuing to whistle. She only stops when Soo-yeon tries to whistle with her, but can't get a sound out. She laughs and tries to help her sister, but they're distracted when the birds above them grow louder and louder.
The bird's like, no, do it like this.
Yeah. I'm literally giving him a free lesson. She jokes, asking if they should kill it, but Soo-yeon proposes that they set it free. They both smile at this, but Sumi says that Eunju would freak out if they messed with her precious, and she would hate to see that. Soo-yeon tries to whistle again with the same result, but they're both brought to silence when Moo-hyun steps out onto the porch.
He's like, were you talking about killing that bird?
Yeah. Been there the whole time listening.
Yeah. I knew it.
Comes out of the shadows. He calls Sumi's name and she sits up. Soo-yeon is out of frame now as he speaks to his oldest daughter, asking what she's doing out here in the cold. He asks if she's okay, but Sumi asks if there's something wrong with her. He tells her that she doesn't look good and that she might be sick, but she insists firmly that she's all right. She asks him to get rid of the wardrobe in Soo-yeon's room, but Moo-hyun reminds her that they agreed not to talk about that and that she promised.
Firstly, very interesting discussion about this wardrobe. Secondly, very interesting framing
Yeah.
Yeah.
to just completely.
It's just the two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And wardrobe, like where it's at, like Narnia, like where.
Yeah, we
like
gotta get rid of that one.
Where it's at.
Is it a Conjuring kind of closet, or like what are we talking about?
This made me think of Beck. Got two turntables and a microphone.
Where it's at. But he finally relents that he knows she's very angry with him and he knows he's a bad father. Sumi says that he's not even a bad father, but Soo-yeon looks at her silently and Moo-hyun changes the subject, advising that they should go back inside because it's cold. Sumi just tells him that she will, and he goes back inside. The score begins as Sumi and Soo-yeon sit in silence. Later, Sumi walks down a path in the woods alone. She looks behind her suspiciously, and it is a very long and lingering shot of the path. But she continues until she comes to an old greenhouse that they're using for storage, I guess.
Yeah.
But she lets herself inside. Back on the porch, Soo-yeon opens the bird cage and starts to reach her hand inside. But when she hears someone coming, she pulls her hand away.
Let that bird live.
Yeah.
She's like, did we settle on the setting it free or the killing?
Yeah.
I don't remember where we landed on
Couldn't
that.
remember.
I'm going to grab it just in case. Because I know we need it.
Either way, I need to grab this bird. Sumi returns to the house with two cases, one large and one smaller. She brings them to her room, unzips her dress and lets it fall to the floor, and returns to the cases wearing a red one.
So that, the changing from the floral pattern to the
Yeah.
red, Very important.
Yeah.
Again.
Inside of the little case, she finds photos and she flips through them. There are several of her when she was little, played by Park Sung-ai, and her mother, played by Park Mi-hyun. As the photos go on, there is one of her parents when they were young. She continues to flip to find a family portrait. Her parents, and her sister all sitting on the couch together.
Was that the photo shown in the doctor's office?
I think in a second, yes.
Okay.
Okay, because a lot of these, it was just one kid.
Yeah, when she was little.
I
I'm
got
assuming,
confused for a second.
I think it was before Soo-yeon was
Okay.
born, because she was little.
Yeah.
But she smiles at the picture and then flips one more time. In this photo, the family sits together, posing on the couch, but behind Moo-hyun, standing primly in all white, is Eun-ju. That's the one that was at the office.
And that is when I understood everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, so there's the tension.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The smile drops from Sumi's face as she looks at this one. She flips through the photos angrily. Another photo, her mother sitting in a chair solemnly. Sumi and Soo-yeon standing to her right, both looking very sad. Moo-hyun standing to her left with a comforting hand on her shoulder, but behind him, the only one smiling in the fucking photo, Eun-ju. In the next, her father stands in his doctor's whites with colleagues. Behind him in a nursing uniform, Eun-ju. Then a picture of just the two of them together in their whites. She flips through them furiously, only coming back to the moment when Soo-yeon startles her by coming in and asking what she's doing. So Eun-ju was their nurse.
Yeah.
Wow.
You hate to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got nothing to say.
Yeah,
This is dastardly.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever used that word in my life.
Well, the smile is no, you haven't.
Yeah.
Unless we were talking about wacky racist.
Yeah.
Was his name Dick Dastardly?
was.
Yeah.
That's what.
You
That's
got like Muttley with you or
Yeah.
something.
That's
well,
a porn
that's
star
our
name.
laugh.
Yeah.
represented.
Yes, every episode we laugh like Mudley, and then we fucking do it. No, but
But
yeah.
I don't know how else to describe
No.
this
Oh, yeah.
behavior.
And the
No.
smile was a little devious.
It's
Yeah.
too much. Why are you even in this picture? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. You take the picture. Why are
Yeah.
you in this?
No, yeah.
It's like in Ma. Oh, you're not going to be in it.
Yeah, this is for me.
But it is it does, once that realization hits, you see the pictures, you keep going, and it's like, oh fuck, you don't belong here.
Trifling.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But Soo-yeon asks when she came in, and Sumi hides the pictures in the box. She brightens and goes to her sister. She pulls out a pair of their mother's old slippers and hands them to Soo-yeon along with a necklace of hers. Soo-yeon takes them happily and snatches up a small photo of their mother. She recites a spell, saying that it's meant to bring her back to them. Sumi asks who taught her that, and Soo-yeon tells her that their mother did. Sumi asks, what? But Soo-yeon gives no further explanation, only asks if she can keep the picture. She starts to dig in the box, claiming more things for herself, but Sumi stops her. She notices something on her sister's arm and puts the box to the side. She inspects both of Soo-yeon's arms, revealing a cut on one wrist and bruises on the other forearm. She asks who did this to her, demanding that Soo-yeon tell her when she's silent. She assures her that she can tell her, but Soo-yeon still refuses to speak. Sumi becomes angry, asking if she did this to her. When her sister remains silent, she begins yelling, reminding her that she told her to tell her everything. She grabs her sister and shakes her, yelling at her to tell her and asking if she did this. Finally, fed up, Soo-yeon screams. She gathers her new possessions and leaves the room.
There's never any confirmation.
No.
And Sumi was kind of doing the it was Rick Marshall
Yeah.
from
No,
from Zodiac. It's like, listen,
I didn't
Yeah.
say that.
no.
That was my thought. I get it. That's your sister. I'd be very angry.
Of course.
But maybe turn it down just a hair, because Soo-yeon did not at all respond well to that.
No.
She does not respond to the aggressive
Yeah.
approach at all.
Yeah.
Like,
You're trying to get an answer to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
But in the process, you're scaring her.
Yeah.
exactly.
And so let's, but and it's again this idea of kind of maybe jumping to conclusions
yeah.
and where it can lead you.
Yeah. But in the bathroom, as he runs hot water in the sink, Moo-hyun replaces the blade on his razor and shaves. In the dining room, Eunju sits calmly, snacking and reading a book, while Sumi sits across from her, staring. I don't know how she's just sitting there reading.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did think that the father's reaction, because you would think that hearing that screaming in the other room, he would go and check it out.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of just lets it happen.
Yeah. She finally asks Sumi what? Sumi asks how she can be so cruel, but her stepmother just says that it's retribution. If you disobey, you need to be punished. Sumi asks if her father knows what she did, but Eunju slams her book closed. She tells her that if she thinks her father can solve everything, she can go get him. She even offers to do it herself. This is if you thought at all that this woman, I mean, this is the heel turn.
Yeah.
Scene,
Well, I was upset.
She just lets it all hang out.
Yeah. And I understand she's undergoing a lot of stress.
Yeah.
But this is way too far.
It's unbelievable.
Some of the lines.
Yeah.
Sumi jumps to her feet, scraping the legs of her chair across the floor. Eunju demands that she mind her manners and sit down. She asks if she was like this with her mother too, but Sumi tells her sternly not to bring up her mother. Eunju tells her to listen carefully. She says that no matter how much she hates it, she is her mother. She's like, listen here, you little shit.
Man.
She is the only person in this world that she can call mother. She tells her that crying over her mom's photos won't change anything. And if that's too hard for her to handle, then it's too bad because that's just how the world is. She says that the world isn't as sweet as she's picturing it. Sometimes you have to bear the worst and live on. She says, just like I'm bearing you two.
That hurt.
That hurt me.
A lot.
I was like, oh, what?
No, yeah. Sumi uppercut the shit out of her.
Literally.
I think it was the callousness of talking about her mother.
Yeah.
And then being like, because I'm suffering you both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The worst.
The 1-2 of it.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that should have been like she should have just caught flight on her ass. Just like, oh no, no, I'm gonna light you up quick. You say nothing.
I'm gonna
shut your mouth.
I'm gonna tell you, I don't think that would have solved.
No,
I bet she ain't gonna say that again.
Well, but they're gonna be in a lot of trouble. They're gonna be in a lot of trouble.
But in the bathroom, as he's shaving, over the running water, Moo-hyun can hear the yelling. He turns the water off. Suddenly, at the table, Eunju lowers her voice. Her face softens and she asks, what? Why the hell did you even come here? She tells Sumi that she can't believe she said that to her again and asks if she's not feeling well yet. Sumi just stares back at her in disbelief. Eunju shakes her head and raises her teapot to refill her cup, but Sumi smacks her cup and her plate of cookies off of the table. They shatter onto the floor, and Eunju just calmly sets the teapot back down.
The timing of it did make me laugh, as she did pour some of the tea still.
Yeah.
I was expecting a cup to be there.
Who could have predicted that? Yeah. Moo-hyun finally comes into the dining room to find the table empty. Soo-yeon watches from the stairs quietly, and Moo-hyun finds his older daughter sitting in the corner of the kitchen with her head buried. Eunju is just gone. Mm-hmm. He reaches out to comfort her, but she tells him not to touch her. She stands up and walks past him. He follows her, and when he grabs her arm, she screams and pulls away from him. She turns on him, yelling at him to get off of her. He asks what's wrong, and she asks him if he's really that clueless. She tells him not to touch her with his filthy hands. He asks that she listen to him, but she continues, telling him that she doesn't want to hear what he has to say and that he's the same. He tells her it's not true and that she's misunderstanding things. He says that she's not accepting any of this, but Sumi asks why it's always her. Why is he only asking for her to understand? She asks if he really doesn't know, and he says maybe not. He asks that she just tell him and get it off of her chest, but she asks him if it will change anything. He only pleads with her to please not do this. He warns her that she'll get sick again. Sumi is confused, but after a moment she says, fine. She calmly tells him that from now on, anything that happens here, all the filthy things he brought here, he's responsible for everything. The phone begins to ring, and just above a whisper, she tells him to go answer it because she has nothing else to say. She walks away.
The drama's off the charts.
Yeah. Later, a car drives down the road at night. Inside are the aforementioned son Kyu, played by Woo Gi-hong, and his wife Mi Hee, played by Lee Sang-bai. Back at the house, Eunju, dressed in a red top, red skirt, bright red lipstick, scurries around the house, putting in a CD and watering her plants.
Man, I wanted to reach out and touch that CD in the player. I had one like that when I was younger.
Oh,
like
yeah?
the EQ, the CD player, the cassette player was all in different like units, and you had to put them all together into the main one. Ah, man, I missed that shit. Then just CDs. I remember when CDs came out. That was a fucking time. Man.
I remember something like that when we were a kid.
CDs?
We were two kids.
Yeah.
Sorry. When we were kids. No, not just CDs.
Oh,
No,
like, T,
but-
what
Of
the
course I
fuck?
remember CDs. I remember,
Like-
but we had like the EQ and all that stuff. I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah.
I don't know what the fuck it was.
No, it was magic.
Yeah. Because you
But-
see all the buttons and dials, and it's like, oh, what is this
Yeah.
shit?
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. I wanted to comment on the camera following Eunju
Yes.
and how it's selling her excitement.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is.
This bitch is hyped. And I was like, the confrontation that you just had
Yeah.
and the horrible fucking things that you said, the fact that you're like, la da 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 da.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, wow, you don't give a fuck. Like, you,
Yeah.
what's wrong with you?
I did notice, and it was not just the one time, but her lipstick.
Yeah,
It's great.
it is.
Very red.
Yeah,
Enjoyed the
extremely
shit
red.
out of that.
and you're,
Yeah.
but you think
Yeah.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And the contrast of her excitement and the couple in that car.
Yeah.
They could not want to be here less.
Yeah.
Literally. Well, Moo Hyun lets the visitors in and Eunju beams at them, but all three of them standing at the door, like there's not a smile to be seen.
No.
At dinner, Moo Hyun pours red wine as the food is served. Next to him, Eunju is talking a mile a minute. She asks if anyone remembers this. It's fuzzy, but she does think that it happened. Do you remember? She tells Sun Kyu that he jumped into the river to catch fish and then he started to drown and everyone had a fit. She laughs heartily at this and no one else does. Still laughing, she says that there was another funny story. She asks Sun Kyu if he remembers that crazy guy that was usually normal, but he went crazy whenever it rained. She laughs as she says that if he was plowing the field, the man would strip all of his clothes off and run into the street. She continues laughing at this, and again, nobody else is. She says that it was the funniest when it rained off and on because he would put his clothes back on and take them off until he got sick of it and just went into his house.
She's living my fear right now.
Oh my God. Everybody's like, oh
Yeah.
my God.
Like, what do you
It's pretty
mean?
awkward.
Yeah.
It's beyond. She's laughing her ass off, remembering how everyone in the neighborhood used to laugh at that guy. And one time when Sun Kyu was little, he ran with the man too. When their mother saw, she almost passed out. Still fucking laughing, she asks if Sun Kyu remembers. He has literally turned away from her now and looks very upset, but she continues laughing and asking. Mihi looks uncomfortable and Moo Hyun sits next to his wife, holding his glass of wine and offering no expression.
Whenever you're telling a story and part of your story is telling everyone that you're telling the story to how hard everyone laughed back then,
Yeah.
I think that's the point where you realize it's not going as well
It's really not.
as you had hoped.
Do you ever get halfway through telling a story and you're like, fuck, this was only funny to me. This is only funny to me. That's the worst.
And then you got to make something up.
Yeah, and then like he turned into like a dolphin.
No, he didn't. You're not allowed to tell stories anymore.
But nobody here is reacting at all.
No.
There's no reaction.
A dolphin.
Yeah.
Cut her mic.
No, but I hate those moments. And this to me with my social awkwardness is when I felt for Eunju.
Yeah.
Granted, she did some horrible shit a few scenes ago.
Yeah.
A scene ago.
A scene ago. But people, we're all kinds of things, right?
Sure.
We're made of stuff.
Yeah.
We are. That is
A
undeniable.
lot of it. And sometimes we're dolphins. So,
We turn into them.
I'm sorry. Great
but
story.
only at
Yes.
the punchline.
Only when your story's going to shit.
But finally, Sun Kyu tells her that he doesn't remember. When she is in disbelief, he doubles down. Eunju is deeply wounded by this, even having to sit back in her chair and catch her breath. She asks him why he doesn't remember. Is he crazy? She glares at him. Mihi continues to look uncomfortable, and Moo Hyun finally sets his glass down.
The amount of discomfort, I was like, these carrots are perfect. Like, can we break the tension? Please.
These carrots. But I mean, this is, I guess, her brother.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And she is like devastated because
Yeah.
he's like, no, I don't. What? I mean, she's like,
Well, because clearly it's important to her
yeah.
and a great memory.
Yeah. Well, not only that.
Well, everyone was laughing.
Yeah.
You remember.
Well, even that though, the way that he answers, it's like, what? Like, are you being for real right now?
Yeah.
Because I know you remember that shit.
You know, the way he answers is almost like, that story is embarrassing to me.
Yeah.
But
I
at
don't
least-
remember.
But at least, like, no, I don't remember that. He's just like, no.
Yeah, he's like, no.
Yeah,
He
he's
like
just
turned away from her.
Yeah, he's like stone faced. He's like, dude, a nod or a like, please shut the fuck up.
I have a very sincere question about the brother and his wife later on.
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask it later because I
Okay.
don't want to give anything away, but it's a very important question.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Silence descends on the table until Mi-hee breaks into a coughing fit. She struggles to breathe before finally falling off of her chair and hitting the floor. She seizes, screams, and struggles. Sun Kyu and Moo Hyun come over to try to help her, but she continues to unknowingly fight against them. Moo Hyun tries to offer her water, but she smacks the glass away, spilling it onto the floor. She claws at her throat, gasping for air. She continues to scream, her hand flopping against the floor. Her husband runs away and returns with pills, but she continues screaming and fighting, far too gone to take them. He forces them into her mouth, which do not do that.
No.
Yeah.
And tries to hold it closed, but Mi-hee turns her head to the side and vomits onto the floor. She gasps unsuccessfully for air, and her eyes fall past Eun-ju's slippered feet as she stands in the kitchen, watching all of this happen. As Mi-hee turns her face up to look at her, still failing to take in air, Eun-ju grabs at her own face and screams. This was a fucking roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know how to react. It, honestly, and I got to be honest, the way that we've seen Eun-ju react with everything, I thought she poisoned her.
Me too.
No, yeah.
And that was my first thought. And then her scream seemed so feigned and not real
Yeah.
because I was like, she's having to pretend she's afraid because she knows what she did.
But I'm
That-
like, is she prone to seizures? Because they did have medicine for. It was very strange.
Yeah.
And it goes on for so long.
It does.
That was what we were talking about them, the director forcing you into.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I want to get out of here. I
It goes
gotta
on
see a movie at
forever.
8:15.
I thought she was going to die.
I was so glad that she didn't die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was very concerned with the way that this was going.
But I think that too, because I thought the same thing, and that was, I was like, you're not really scared. You're screaming because you need to act like you're worried or something's wrong.
Yeah.
You're probably enjoying this shit. well, I thought she poisoned her too.
Me too. I was like, she should be doing Mr. Burns fingers.
Well, because we just heard her whole fucking speech earlier. So
Yeah.
I was like,
The fact that they immediately jumped in to try to help Mi-hee and
then-
she just
Yeah.
retreated into the kitchen and was watching. Like that was, I mean, I don't know. I know that everybody reacts to things differently, but that was strange.
right.
But later, Moo Hyun watches from the porch as Sun Kyu puts his wife into the car. She did survive.
Yes.
As he drives home, he apologizes. He didn't even want to go to dinner, but Moo Hyun had begged him to, and he gave in.
So again, that's completely different.
Yeah.
Then Eun-ju saying, I invited him for dinner. What?
Yeah.
Like, conflicting. Mi-hee tells him that she saw something strange in the house. There was a girl under the kitchen sink. For just a second, we flash back, seeing through Mi-hee's eyes as Eun-ju stands screaming in the kitchen. By her feet, underneath the kitchen sink, the dark and bloody figure of a girl in a green dress hides.
Okay, so two things here that are kind of conflicting for me personally.
Okay.
Number one, I love seeing the fear in her eyes in the first showing of the scene
Yeah.
and then revealing later what she saw.
Why? Yeah.
I like that a lot. But the second thing, this is where we begin something that I feel like we're doing too much.
Okay.
because I don't. The element of this house also potentially being haunted,
Yeah.
it's interesting to me metaphorically, not so much
Literally.
legitimately.
Yeah.
And so her seeing something, you're not even part of this really.
Well, yeah. See, that's the thing is I feel like it could have been very ambiguous
Yes.
as to whether this aspect of it, again, we'll get into it better later. But if this aspect was actually happening or if it was metaphorical or even, an extension of something else that's going on. But yeah, Mihi is not involved.
No.
So if this were not real, she wouldn't have seen it.
And that's where
So that makes it real.
that's what kind of bothers me a little bit. Because you have Sumi's nightmare.
Yeah.
That's totally fine with me.
Yeah.
Right.
But then when we get into this where we're actually seeing shit, I don't know.
Yeah, because even when I finished it, I was like, so was that? And then I'm like, no, because this wouldn't have happened. But,
And it becomes even more later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that because this was a little confusing for me because, like you said, so we're haunted now, or we're like I don't like,
And
I wouldn't even mind on the cool, honestly. Okay, the lady, she's seen the ghost, the sister-in-law.
Okay,
she's seen the ghost under the sink, but where'd that come from?
And I think to me it makes way more sense if Unju sees it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
no, yeah.
Sumi.
Anybody in the house.
Anybody in the house.
Almost.
Yeah. Not the father.
But not the father.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that just makes it real.
Yeah.
The fact that it was Mihi that saw it makes it
Right.
real.
And it just feels like, I think what we have here is more than enough
Yeah.
to where we maybe don't need this at all.
I mean, it's a lot.
No, yeah. Okay, no,
It's a
yeah.
lot.
I'll give you that.
So that was what I was hinting at the
Yeah.
beginning.
Right.
And I'll detail it even more later.
Okay.
But back at home, Unju sits at the table quietly as Moo-hyun picks up the food from the floor. He tells her to go to bed before promptly leaving the room.
I'm surprised he wasn't like, that was a lot. You can clean this up tomorrow. Because he's kind of a dick.
Well, you've been through a
Right.
lot. We'll just
We'll let you clean this up tomorrow.
Take 5 and then come back and clean the shit.
I was very glad that he was cleaning it.
He
Yeah.
was cleaning it, but the way that he was like, go to bed, and then just walked out was cold. Like,
Yeah, 'cause he
who
didn't
talks to your
finish.
wife like that?
Einstein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you just would have walked out.
Shut off the lights.
Yeah.
Unju sits for a moment before letting her attention drift over to the kitchen sink when she hears something. She stares as the cabinet slowly opens on its own. Unju approaches it cautiously, opening the cabinet wider so that she can peer inside. When she doesn't see anything, she closes it. She looks beneath it, underneath the sink where Mihi saw what she saw.
I will say the sound design of that cabinet.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it's literally from like a haunted house.
Yeah.
She lowers herself down to the ground and peers into the darkness. When she lifts her head up, there's suddenly a girl sitting in a green dress at the dining room table behind her. Her head is lowered and her long hair falls over her face. Unju is stricken with fear as she slowly turns her head to look at the table, but there's no one there.
When she looked at the table, I realized that my jaw had been clenched the entire time.
No, it's so... I'm describing this in a kind of conversational pace. This takes so long.
It does.
It unfolds so slowly and suspensefully that it is... it's agonizing.
I wrote, this film does for sinks what Psycho did for shit.
But still on the floor of the kitchen, there is suddenly a broken piece of a hair clip sitting in front of Unju. She reaches for it, but just as she picks it up, a decayed hand reaches out from underneath the sink and grabs her wrist. Unju screams and tries to crawl away, but as soon as she turns around, she comes right up against the green dress.
So you pissed something. Something's pissed off or something's going on.
Yes, and it's all real.
Yeah. No, yeah. Yeah.
And it's confirmed.
Yes.
This is good, all that happens right here. Because even, like I said, I'm not much of the slow burn guy, but even watching this, I was like, I know what's going to happen, or I know whatever. But it was funny because I still did get a tiny little tingle, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In one of my nipples or something. I was like, oh
Just
man.
one.
Well, it was tiny scared, like baby scared.
Why there?
You look so upset.
I just don't get the
Well,
placement.
all right, from one of my arms.
The place.
Your hair can't
It's
stand up, or you fucking
No, it's
goosebumps.
It usually just lays down. Right?
All right.
All right.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
The spirit.
I get the
Yes.
point. Yes, the core of your
Right.
thing.
The nipples.
No. But what I think for me is that this moment works perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
It's the moment with the sister-in-law that takes me out.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you had this, then it still makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. I respect that.
What-
I get that.
What if it was the sister-in-law saying, "Why? I think I saw something under the sink," and what it was just a reflection of the broken piece of the hair clip. But when Eun-ju goes, then she does see something.
The whole thing.
Right, because it, like you said, it means something to them.
Yes.
It means nothing to the brother and the sister-in-law.
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's her seeing the girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah. No, I'll agree with you on that. Yeah.
Later, Moo-hyun gives her pills as she sits in bed. She asks him to stay with her, but he just asks, what for?
Yeah. I was like, geez, man.
She tells him that it's strange. Ever since the girls have come back, strange things have been happening in the house. He tells her not to say stupid things. She asks him if he didn't see it, but he just says that she's having a hard time adjusting and needs to rest. Eun-ju is not trying to hear it, though, and she asserts that there is something in this house. Moo-hyun promises her that he'll take a look around if she'll get some rest, and then I didn't know we would have already said this, but I put, and then he Einsteins her.
Yeah.
He does.
That's great.
Well, and even that, she's trying to ask him for help, and he's like, whatever.
Yeah.
Go to bed,
Yeah,
dude.
like things are too spicy for the pepper. He's like,
Shut up.
Yeah, get out of here.
But poor Eun-ju, she's like, don't leave me
Yeah.
alone with him. And he's just like, night. Shuts off the light.
We see Moo-hyun standing in the kitchen facing the sink. Alone in her bedroom now, Eun-ju paces in front of her bright red wardrobe. Giallo.
No. Hey.
She stops when she hears the floorboards creaking. Moo-hyun is not in the kitchen anymore, but walking through the house. He comes to Eun-ju's bird cage, covered so that the bird can sleep. He slowly lifts the cover and finds the inside of the cage to be bloody and the bird to be motionless, on its side, dead. He looks shocked as he slides the cover back down. He picks up the cage and takes it out of the room, but as he leaves, we see that Eun-ju was in the shadows watching everything.
Yeah. And look, again, we all knew this bird wasn't long for this world.
Yeah.
But it's still shocking because you're like, well, how long has this been? Because we saw the younger sister
Yeah.
Yeah.
reach in as this bird,
I don't know.
a wing like that.
A wing like that indeed. But we immediately cut to Eun-ju trying to open a door, but it's locked. She twists the handle and bangs on it, yelling at whoever is inside to open up, but no one does. First, I thought she was banging on the door of his office,
Yeah.
but she's not. She calls them brats as she walks away and searches through drawers. Finally, she finds a key ring and lets herself into Soo-yeon's room. Soo-yeon is asleep in her bed and Eun-ju starts toward her, but stops when she sees the stack of photos. She is immediately incensed and goes through the baby pictures and pictures of the girl's mother, but she stops on the photo of their mother and Moo-hyun. Yeah. She is seething. She finally starts flipping through them again, past the family photo of them sitting on the couch, and comes to the one where she stood behind her future husband. She has been ripped out of the photo.
I got to be honest, because we already knew she had seen Sumi looking at these.
Yeah.
And so we already knew that she knew what they were, all this stuff. As she picked them, I was like, now what are you going to find that wasn't, that's exactly it. Okay.
Very good. She finds the one of Moo-hyun posing with his colleagues. Again, she's been ripped out of the photo. On the table are the discarded pieces with her faces on them. And to add insult to injury, her face has been scratched out of them. Not good enough for you to be ripped out, but Now you don't got a face anymore.
I need you to know exactly how much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, earlier too when she was calling him brats, whatever. But you found the keys. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
So-
again, why do you need it? She's in there asleep.
No, I know.
Well, because a bird died. That's why.
But this is the line for Eun-ju. She rips the blankets from Soo-yeon. Soo-yeon wakes up afraid, and her stepmother coldly tells her to get out of bed. When Soo-yeon doesn't answer, she screams it at her. Soo-yeon still doesn't move, and Eun-ju starts to climb onto the bed and get her, but stops when she feels something beneath the blanket. She pulls the blanket aside to reveal another dead bird.
At that point, I was like, so you just got a taste for it. Like you just love killing birds.
Just a bird.
Just the birds.
Well, Soo-yeon looks confused too, though.
Yeah.
But
She's
you
like,
also
oh, I forgot I left that there.
What if it was a ghost?
well, see,
we don't-
and I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's just it's not good.
No.
Not a good look to be caught.
No,
bed.
no, not at all. Eun-ju attacks Soo-yeon.
We've kind of
Yeah.
she
Called
scalds herself.
When her stepdaughter scratches to defend herself, she only attacks her harder, pulling her off the bed and dragging her across the floor. Soo-yeon tries to hold herself back, but ends up just pulling the lamp over and dragging it with them. Eun-ju yells that the damn house won't leave her alone. Soo-yeon's dolls watch as Eun-ju continues dragging her to the wardrobe and demanding to know who did it. Soo-yeon screams at the side of the wardrobe but will not answer her. Eun-ju forces her inside of it, asking if it was her sister that did it. She asserts that they both need to learn a lesson.
Her saying that line like that, it feels almost sarcastic.
Yeah.
And so with what I was starting to suspect in this film, I thought it was, and it's not.
Yeah.
So it's, it's again, they're toying with you
Yeah.
and audience expectations. I will say what is about to happen, that's torture.
Literally.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is abuse. It's
Yeah.
torture.
I was in shock for I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
wow, it's like where is anybody else at?
That's the question. Where is, right?
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. With Soo-yeon inside of the wardrobe, Eun-ju stomps away, only to come back with the photos. She throws them into her stepdaughter's face before promptly slamming the door. She holds it shut as Soo-yeon screams and struggles inside. The theme begins, and she asks if Soo-yeon feels better after looking at her dead mother's things, and if finding the photos made her happy. She takes a key and locks the wardrobe shut. Soo-yeon continues to scream and bang on the door from the inside as Eun-ju paces the room. She tells Soo-yeon to tell her that she's sorry because she's not coming out until she does. Soo-yeon stops banging on the door and screaming, but she is still sobbing inside the wardrobe. Eun-ju tells her that it won't do any good to cry and that she needs to say she's sorry and beg for forgiveness. Soo-yeon finally tells her that she is sorry. Eun-ju makes her repeat it, telling her to say it properly, and Soo-yeon does. Her stepmother finally opens the door. She asks her if she's really admitting that she's sorry. Soo-yeon sniffles and sobs as Eun-ju yells at her to stop her crying because she doesn't want to hear it. She asks if she's crying because she's mad at her.
No, I'm crying because of what just happened
Yeah,
to me.
you're
Yeah.
torturing me, and also I'm not happy with you.
Yeah.
When Soo-yeon doesn't answer, Eun-ju proposes that they'll see how long she can hold up then. She slams the door and locks it again, saying that it will put some sense into the two sisters. Soo-yeon screams inside of the wardrobe. In her room, asleep in her bed, Soo-mi drops something from her hand at the sound of the thud elsewhere in the house. The clattering on the floor wakes her up, and she walks past it. The framed photo of her, Soo-yeon, and their mother when the girls were little. Was this what Soo-yeon took? Because she did take a little tiny framed photo.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know if this is the
Yeah.
same one, but she drops it and it wakes her up. She goes out into the hallway just in time to see Eun-ju's shadow making its way down the stairs. She rushes to Soo-yeon's room and looks around. The bed is in disarray and the lamp is pulled out and overturned in the middle of the floor. As Eun-ju makes her way down the hall downstairs, Soo-mi cautiously approaches the wardrobe. She calls out to her sister and opens the door, screaming her name. Eun-ju hears this and turns to look behind her. In the wardrobe, Sumi sobs as she cradles her sister, apologizing for not hearing her. She vows to her that this will never happen again. Soo-yeon says nothing, only looks over her sister's shoulder as she holds her.
An incredibly important moment.
Yeah.
Words spoken,
Yeah.
actions, and location.
Outside, Moo-hyun digs a small grave for the slain bird. He packs earth over it and looks back at the house in time to see a shadow watching him from the window. When he comes back into the house, he sees Soo-mi and Soo-yeon sitting together waiting for him. He looks down at the ripped up photos with Eun-ju's face scratched out of them. He looks up at Soo-mi and pleads with her to tell him why she's doing this and why she's been acting so weird since she got here. Soo-mi asks him if he really doesn't know what that woman is doing to them. Moo-hyun raises his voice, begging his daughter to just tell him what Eun-ju has done. Soo-mi yells that Eun-ju keeps harassing Soo-yeon. Moo-hyun is taken aback by this and asks, "What?" Soo-mi unloads as her sister watches tearfully. She calls Eun-ju vicious and evil and says that she locked Soo-yeon in the wardrobe. Moo-hyun begs her to stop it, but Soo-mi asks him, "Stop what?" She says that he already knows that Soo-yeon is afraid of their stepmother. She turns to her sister and begs her to tell their father what's been going on. She pulls at Soo-yeon's arm, screaming at her to tell him, but she won't. Finally, their father yells at Soo-mi to stop. The screaming stops and Moo-hyun drops the bomb. Soo-yeon is dead. Both sisters look at him confused. Moo-hyun repeats himself. Soo-yeon is dead, so pull yourself together. Soo-mi begins to sob, and Moo-hyun asks just how long she's planning on keeping this up. Soo-mi turns to her sister and assures her that it's not true. We watch Soo-yeon taking this all in, looking back and forth between her sister and her father. Suddenly, she screams. Soo-mi continues to shake her head and deny this, as Soo-yeon continues to scream, backing away from them.
In these kinds of plot twist situations, usually the camera will pan over and the person's just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To see Soo-yeon react to this news was one of the most frightening things I've ever seen.
It really was.
And tragic.
It's devastating.
Yeah.
And when the first time I watched this, I called this early on.
Yes.
Because of a lot of the framing and a lot, like sometimes even, especially when you rewatch it, sometimes the prints of her clothes are the same as the walls. So she's blending into the scenery.
And that was intentional.
I mean, I kind of guessed it, but I kept going back to, but no, Eun-ju was talking to her at the table. She was talking to her at the table. She greeted them both when they came in. I was like, what the fuck?
And that's when I realized that there was more to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if the critic had walked out at that point,
Yeah.
then
Yeah. Okay.
I get it.
Yeah.
But what we have so far and what is to come, it all works.
Yes.
Right. This, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's like, don't do this to me, Ricky Bobby. Like I had forgot, honestly. And I did, watching it, it's like, okay, I do start to remember, like I said, I did start to remember certain things, but once I got to this, I was like, man, that's tough.
Yeah.
I think the thing is that this twist has become kind of overdone.
Yeah.
As we've said, and so we are looking for those clues throughout.
Yeah.
And when you have that framing of Moo-hyun coming out and saying, why are you out here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're cold.
They're at the dock and he's like, sue me. He has only spoken to her.
Right.
Yeah.
He's not acknowledged his younger daughter at all.
So that obviously sticks in your mind.
Yeah.
But then to have so much of the movie left to go and have this plot twist.
Right.
I will say that the shaky camera around Soo-yeon was me.
Yeah.
The first time I watched it, I was like, no way.
You're like the caveman SpongeBob. But we see a shot of the moon and the wind whipping through the field outside before going back inside to Moo-hyun's office. He's on the phone, telling the person on the other end to come over tomorrow because he can't do this alone. He tells them that she's getting worse. He says to call when they arrive and he'll go and pick them up.
I know it was a little bit ago, but the shot of the moon was amazing.
It was.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker
we love that
for those.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just for werewolf movies.
No. But the next morning, Eun-ju drags a heavy, blood-stained bag across the floor. She stops and goes into the next room, only to return shortly with a stick. She beats the bag hard. Suddenly, we get disjointed images of a younger Soo-mi turning in response to hearing something large falling over, a shattered photo of a girl in a familiar-looking green dress, and a hand flopping on the floor. Soo-mi wakes up screaming.
So from this, with the little montage of different quick cut clips, we are to assume that the bag also was part of this nightmare, right?
Yeah.
Right.
This is where my confusion starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Intensifies.
Yes. It's just
There you
in
go.
parentheses. Confusion intensifies. And it does, but again, this is explained.
Yeah.
But in the moment, it's very confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Soo-mi catches her breath and sits up in bed, she notices that a note has been slipped under her door. She reads it. Soo-mi, I'm going out. I'll be back this afternoon. Make sure you lock up. Soo-mi goes to her sister's room and bangs on the door, calling out for Soo-yeon. When she tries to open the door, she's shocked to find that it's been nailed shut. We follow her through the house and swirl around her as she searches. She hears Soo-yeon call out to her and goes running. The music is manic and chaotic, but suddenly stops when she rounds a corner. She backs back into view, and before her is a dark trail of blood from where the bag had been dragged.
When I saw that the blood trail was real,
Yeah.
I told myself, I said, I'm going to need somebody to put a tape into a small mini cassette player and hear a voice say, hello, Zep. Because I need that James Wan style of an explain
Something.
of this twist, please. Yeah.
Yeah, because this is real.
Yes.
Right.
What we're seeing, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not part of the nightmare.
Right. But it did. I'm like, okay, so where's the bag?
Yes.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? What's in the bag?
What's in the bag? She follows the trail slowly until she comes upon the bag, bloody and abandoned. Soo-mi sinks down to the ground and reaches out to touch it. As soon as her hand grazes it, she whispers her sister's name. Suddenly, she frantically tries to untie the bag, struggling with the multiple ropes used to hold it closed. She screams in frustration before giving up and finally running to the kitchen to get a knife. She searches through the drawers, stopping only momentarily when a tea kettle begins to whistle on the stove.
I had two thoughts here. One, who the fuck is making tea right now?
Yeah, who did that?
How
Who did that?
Like, with everything's going on. And if Eun-ju was dragging that bag earlier, she's like, ooh, I need a tea break.
Yeah.
No, she's earned
Hot
it.
tea.
Yeah, a hot
It's
tea
hard
break.
work.
No, finish your murder or whatever you're doing. And the
Tea
second,
after.
yeah, prioritize. The second thing, though, was whenever she's trying to untie the bag.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I caught myself holding my breath.
Yeah.
As if I was in the bag.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's tense. You're like, come on,
It's-
open the bag, get the bag open.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
she just can't get it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me out.
I can't breathe in here.
I don't know why you put yourself in
I
the
don't
bag.
know either. It's too immersive.
Submersion.
Yeah.
But in another room, Eun-ju gulps down a glass of water just to tide her over till her tea's ready.
I was thirsty.
It's hard work.
Yes.
The bag looks heavy. Soo-mi searches the entire kitchen but is unable to find a knife. Before she can leave, she gets a flash of herself taking a pill at the dinner table. Herself beating the bloody bag. She shakes her head to steady herself and goes back into the hallway, but the bag is gone. The trail of blood continues.
There was a very interesting edit that they did in that Speakema video.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where they showed the way that Soo-mi was shaking her head to get those cobwebs out right then.
Mm-hmm.
And the exact same way that Soo-young was shaking her head when they first got to the bedroom at the beginning of the film.
Oh, okay.
And so it was kind of this connection.
Yeah.
Same mannerisms, and it kind of helps to even explain even more
Yeah.
how early they were planting those seeds.
All right, all right.
But she follows the trail to a linen cabinet. After carefully opening the door, she finds the bag inside, the blood soaking into white blankets underneath it. When she reaches out toward it, the bag moves on its own, causing Soo-mi to scream. The kettle on the stove screams in return until Eun-ju, looking a little chaotic, wipes the blood from her hands and takes it off the burner.
When I saw the blood on her hands, I wrote in my notes, I said, so all of that happened, maybe.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
We'll
You
see.
know?
Yeah.
Because there's just so much confusion.
After grabbing a pair of scissors from a drawer, Sumi snips the ropes holding the bag closed. She whispers her sister's name as she frantically starts to open it, but she freezes when Eun-ju enters the room behind her, holding the steaming kettle. She tells Sumi as she advances on her that she's sick and tired of her family and that they all make her sick. Sumi starts to pull away from her, but when Eun-ju starts to bring the kettle down on her, she hits her stepmother with the door to the cabinet. Eun-ju drops the kettle, burning her own arm in the process. Thinking fast, when Eun-ju advances on her again, Sumi stabs her hand through with the scissors. She drops them in fear when, screaming in pain, Eun-ju attacks her again. They crash into a medicine cabinet and a container of curved needles falls onto the ground, and Eun-ju falls right on top of them as they spill out onto the floor.
I got to be honest, I winced at a lot of this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're fucking each other up.
Man, I'm glad she stabbed her in the hand, though. She's,
Yeah.
You know, she's like, not so fast, bitch. Yeah.
Well,
What?
she had it coming. Did you?
Well, she was going to burn her with
I
the
was
tea.
going to say, did you set that water
It's
for
like, how
tea
about a
or
spot
for
of
me?
tea? And no, I understand what you're saying.
Thank you.
I mean, it's horrible, but
No, I get it.
I get it. You got to defend yourself
You have to.
in times of crisis.
Yeah.
When Sumi tries to run from the room, Eun-ju grabs her leg. Sumi falls, hitting her head on a shelf on her way down, and she is knocked out. Later, Eun-ju drags Sumi through the trail of blood in the hallway. Exhausted, she shoves Sumi to the side and she stays in a heap on the floor. Later still, Sumi wakes up, still on the floor. She watches the trail of blood disappear before her very eyes before she slips back into unconsciousness. This is when I'm like, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah.
What was that last thing you did?
Rewind the tape.
Yeah.
For a moment, we see Eun-ju struggling as she drags a statue of a person covering their face with both hands. What the interesting symbolism of covering your own eyes,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Because maybe you don't want to see what's really happening.
Also, I was like, why is that statue me right now?
Yeah. No shit. When Sumi wakes up again, Eun-ju is over her, still panting from exertion. She asks Sumi what the hell made them get to this point, and she asks her if she gets it yet. She asks if she remembers when she told Sumi that she would regret it someday. She tells her that what's really scary is when you want to forget something and totally wipe it out of your mind, it won't go away. She tells her that it never goes away. It follows you around like a ghost. Sumi quietly asks her for help, but Eun-ju just sighs deeply. After a moment, she tells her that she will help her and proposes that they just end it here. She goes back to dragging the statue over to where Sumi lies in the hallway. Struggling, she holds it over her, and Sumi offers no reaction. Eun-ju grunts as she raises the statue above her head, but before she can bring it down, the front door opens and Moo-hyun steps inside. There is a sound of shattering, but when he looks around, he finds his daughter still lying in the hallway with the statue shattered around her. Eun-ju is gone.
So once again, so maybe all of that happened, maybe.
Well, this is two altercations now between the two of them that as soon as Moo-hyun can intervene,
done.
Eun-ju is gone.
Yeah.
And it's just, Sumi and some vulnerable state sitting in the kitchen or laying on or whatever.
Yeah.
That's twice now.
I thought she was just too quick. Got out of there
Yeah.
fast.
She's like, pew!
Yeah.
She's like fucking, she's Batman.
She is the night. He picks her up and lies her down on a couch. She just stares at him, wordlessly. He looks at his hand, realizing that the blood that has transferred onto it is from a wound in Sumi's hand, which is interesting because I didn't remember her getting a wound in her hand.
You know what? I just assumed a piece of that statue cut her poor little hand. But here we are.
Yes.
Interesting.
Just saying. He goes into the other room and takes a bottle of pills from the medicine cabinet, looking confused at the shattered glass. On his way back to Sumi, he looks at the bag inside of the linen closet. It's not bloody, and there's a broken porcelain doll peeking out of it.
So I got to be honest, at this point, I might have been a little pissed off because I'm like, really? We're that's really?
Yeah.
It's not.
What, are you mad because it was a doll?
Yeah. I honestly would have rather it had been nothing.
Well, it has to be something.
Like some pillows or something? Or?
That's better.
Why is that better?
Because it's at least like a person can curl up into a pillow size. That's more believable to me.
I got it, but I was still kind of confused. I'm
Yeah,
like, so
yeah.
what's real now?
For sure.
What's
Seriously.
happening?
Into a pillow size.
I mean,
Well,
he's not wrong.
I can't be a doll. Right. That can't happen. But I could be a pillow.
Right, if you get enough pillows.
Yes.
I mean,
look,
God.
if people can use pillows to convincingly show their parents
Sneak
that they've
out.
snuck out, well, they haven't snuck out. Well, honestly,
Come on, let's be honest.
it's not convincing.
It
But
doesn't look like a human.
I don't know. The doll was a bit much.
But when he goes back to the couch, Eunju sits on it instead of Sumi. And I was like, did he go into another room? I paused it and looked at the fabric on the couch from when he dropped her off to. I'm like, no, that's the same room.
Yeah.
I was so confused.
Yeah.
Eunju asks where Sumi is, and he asks her to please stop because he's sick of it now. She looks at him tearfully as he gives her medication and tells her that she'll feel much better once she takes it. When they hear a noise from further in the house, they both look up toward it before exchanging a look between them. Eunju stays on the couch, looking frightened, and Moo-hyun leaves the room, closing the door behind him. She listens to the sound of his footfalls and a door opening and closing. When the door to the room slides open again, Eunju gasps in shock. The camera pans up as someone enters the room and the music intensifies. The person comes toward Eunju and she looks terrified. The camera spins around her to reveal that the person that Eunju is looking at is Eunju. The camera spins around the Eunju in the doorway as she softly says, "Sumi?" We see that the person sitting on the couch is now Sumi. She stares at Eunju, tears streaking her face. And call Eunju ranch because she be dressing.
Yes.
This bitch is put together. She's in a fucking suit. This is not the woman that was just fighting her in the hallway.
No.
Looking disheveled and bloody and whatever else.
so nothing really happened.
So, to my understanding, this entire time, it's just been Moo-hyun and Sumi at this house.
Yes.
That's what I didn't remember.
That's what I
Yeah.
didn't get either.
No, yeah.
Okay, so I'm not a complete idiot
No,
if we all thought the same
no,
thing.
yeah.
Just a little bit of
Dude,
it.
no, you're not at all, dude. Jesus.
Yeah, I thought that maybe some of the interactions between the two of them we were seeing through Sumi's eyes and they didn't exactly happen that way. But I did not realize that she was never there. That's who Moo-hyun has been talking on the phone with, saying, no, don't come. She's not ready. She's not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I thought was happening whenever she threw Soo-hyung into the wardrobe
Yeah.
is when I thought that she was being fed up with the fact that Soo-hyun didn't exist. And Sumi kept insisting that she did. And that's why she was like, you and your sister can sort this out or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought she was being sarcastic in saying that. The fact
Yeah.
is, she was never saying any of that.
Nope.
Yeah.
That was all Sumi.
Nope. Yeah.
And so it recontextualizes everything.
Everything. This is why at this point when this shoe drops,
Yeah.
I need to watch this again.
Yes. And also the moments of Moo-hyun acting strangely.
Yeah.
That's not his wife.
It's not.
No, yeah.
Why is she in his bed? Why? I mean, all of it, it makes so much sense where he's like, okay, I'll lay with her until she goes to sleep. Then I'll go sleep in my, like, it makes so much sense that you're watching your daughter do all of this. And he's like, please stop.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, ugh. Ugh.
I think the only thing that, and this is where I said I was going to bring it up again.
Right.
Was that really Eunju's brother and sister-in-law?
Yeah. Okay. So I have my own theory about that, but we'll get to it in a minute.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, it was.
okay. Yeah. Because.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah, because
Good
I'm like, are these
question.
just people?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because he even said on the phone to Eunju, the real one,
Yeah.
Yes.
that her brother was coming or whatever. I think that he did beg them to come, and I think that there's a reason that he begged them to come.
Okay.
And I think that Soo-mi put on some fucking red lipstick and acted unbelievably.
Yeah.
And that's why they're looking at her like, and Moo-hyun is just fucking checked out, you know?
Okay.
But we'll see in a
Because
second.
to me, I was like, I would not involve her actual brother in this.
Yeah.
Eunju's?
Yeah.
No, but
We'll talk.
Yeah, let's
We'll
keep going. Let's keep going. But Soo-mi stares at Eunju, tears streaking her face. We see Soo-mi dragging the bag down the hallway. There is no blood. She beats the bag with a stick, but it is only full of dolls, which are not human size. As she sits on the couch, realization dawns on her. She remembers Eunju telling her, "Don't you get it yet?" Her father telling her that she's having a hard time adjusting and that she promised not to bring up the wardrobe. Eunju telling her that she's sick and asking how they got their periods on the same day. We see Moo-hyun telling her again that Soo-yeon is dead. And this time, Soo-yeon is not in the room with them crying and screaming. Sun Kyu sits at the table next to his wife and says, "No, I don't remember." So she's just talking. She's just making shit up. I don't know if maybe this is something that happened to her and Soo-young,
Maybe.
you know?
Yeah.
But that's not her brother. They have no childhood memories together.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. I get
No.
why you're acting like that.
Yeah. Now it makes sense to like, oh, you all the story or whatever.
Yes.
It's just gibberish.
Yeah.
That's why he was like, what the
He's
fuck?
turned away from
Yeah.
her. I mean, it makes sense.
And it's why he didn't want to come in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not coming to see his sister.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
But we see Soo-mi snapping the beloved bird's neck. We see her sitting at the table and taking pills with a glass of water. She sits in the mirror, removing her lipstick. Outside, we see her as she actually arrived to the house. She is alone when she gets out of the car, and alone as she looks around and up at the house. Now back in the room, Eunju and Moo-hyun stand in front of her. She looks down at the pills in her hand and brings them into her mouth. She swallows them as they watch her, and the bottle of pills rolls across the carpet.
This is our Hello Zep.
Yes. You got it. It's what you wanted.
I appreciate it.
At the hospital, Eunju waits on a bench as Moo-hyun talks to the doctor and nurse. She goes into the room and sits next to Soo-mi on her bed. She gently asks her if she's okay, but Soo-mi doesn't answer. Eunju strokes her hair and assures her that it's all over now and she'll feel better here. She softly advises her to get some rest and promises that she'll visit often. She tells her to take good care of herself and tries to leave, but Soo-mi grabs her hand before she can go. Moo-hyun watches this from the doorway as Eunju asks her to let go and struggles to pry her hand off. When she finally wrenches herself free, she leaves without another word. During all of this, Soo-mi's blank expression does not change.
Was it odd that Moo-hyun didn't help her at all?
I think he's checked out.
I just thought it was strange because she latched on for a while.
She wouldn't let go.
He's like, yeah, she'll grab you.
She does that.
It's like, do something.
She'll grab you.
Well,
There's one thing Sumi's gonna do. She's gonna grab you.
He's got to be prepared.
On the car ride home, Moo-hyun and Eunju sit in silence. Back at the hospital, Soo-mi sits alone and the calming theme plays as we slip into a flashback. Moo-hyun pulls up to the house and Soo-mi and Soo-yeon are in the front yard. They are younger and swinging on their swing set, but they stop when the car parks and their father gets out with Eunju. I say younger. They're not like little.
Yeah.
They're still about the same age, but like their hair is different and stuff. The time has passed.
Yes.
Their mother watches from her window upstairs, scratching at the arm of the chair. Eunju happily goes inside and Moo-hyun pauses for a moment, staring at his daughters as they stare back at him before following Eunju into the house. Soo-mi looks at Soo-yeon, but her sister only looks down at the ground, visibly upset.
But the way that Moo-hyun and Eunju get out of the car, it's like a couple coming home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like from the grocery store.
And
No,
that's why
yeah,
they're
yeah.
looking at him like, are you fucking serious, Dad?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
At the house now, Eunju sits at the dining room table in the dark and she holds her face in her hands. Back in the flashback, Soo-mi angrily gets up and leaves the dining room, storming past Sun Kyu and Mi-hee. Now, I have no evidence to support this. This is something I've come to on my own, so it may be way off. But what we're about to see happened this day in the flashback. In my mind, maybe because Soo-mi is not accepting what has happened, maybe Moo-hyun thought that if he brought them back and they all sat at the table like they were that day,
okay,
maybe she would remember maybe something would come back. Maybe that's way off, but I don't know why else he would beg him to come.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I hadn't considered that.
Yeah.
Because I thought simply the involvement of her brother was kind of cruel.
I agree, and I didn't understand why he would do that until it flashed back, and he was there. He's there. Even when the thing that we're about to describe happens, her brother was there. He was there the whole time. So I don't know if maybe he wanted him to be like, what are you talking? And he just didn't, or maybe he was trying to jog her memory. I don't know, but he was there that day. I don't think that is not connected to him begging him to come back.
Okay. I can get that.
Yeah, all right.
But Moo-hyun runs after Soo-mi when she runs away. Soo-yeon looks sadly at Eun-ju, who glares back at her. The music begins again as she snatches the spoon from Soo-yeon's hand. Soo-yeon gets up without a word and pours her soup into the sink as Eun-ju watches. She's wearing a familiar-looking clip in her hair. And this, I thought back to when Soo-mi stormed off at dinner that first night, and Eun-ju was like, aren't you supposed to follow her? So I'm like, in her mind, is she trying to do this over?
Yeah.
Because that's what it seems like to me.
Well, there's a definite moment of trying to do it over.
Yeah. So exactly. Like you're not following. You're supposed to get up and leave after she does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, and one thing I will say is her snatching the soup and pouring it down the drain. I guess Eun-ju was mean.
She was mean.
Yeah,
and that's the thing too, is when she finally comes and we see that wasn't her and whatever. I'm like, this poor woman has become like a scapegoat in Soo-mi's mind of like this, representation of everything bad. And she's like, I hope you feel bad. Like, I'm like, God damn, she's not even mean.
No, and honestly, until we saw the flashback with them coming back, I thought that maybe she was just her nurse. The mother's nurse.
Right.
And that Soo-mi has connected these things.
Yeah. Right.
But that's not true.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so. But yeah, we'll see who Eun-ju really is. But Soo-yeon goes into her room crying and plops down onto her bed face first. Someone comes to comfort her, and we see that it's her mother. Soo-yeon buries her head in her lap, and her mother cries as she comforts her daughter. In the hospital, now present day, someone whistles in the hallway. This finally breaks Soo-mi from her spell, and she turns her head and smiles as she says her sister's name. Back at the house, Eun-ju hears the whistling as well, but she is not as happy about it. She looks up from the table fearfully before getting up. The whistling stops, but she hears a door close upstairs. She makes her way down the hall, but when she steps on the wooden boards, they give slightly beneath her weight and blood oozes out between them. She goes into Soo-yeon's bedroom, which is pitch black with the lights off.
Funky old house, ain't it? It's a great visual, but I don't understand why it's here.
I mean, just the things that have happened in this house, skin rink or whatever.
Or whatever. It's the exact ad. It's the exact trailer.
Skin rink or something like that, you know what I mean? No, but I mean, just what's happened in this house, man?
Yeah. All right. It's metaphorical.
Skin rink.
Yes.
All right.
Eun-ju switches the light on and something disappears behind the curtains in the room. This looks so fucking frightening. It's like it's very scary.
Mm-hmm.
She shivers against the freezing cold in the room, her breath turning into clouds in front of her face. Whew, it's cold in here. How many times are we going to do the Sixth Sense?
Oh, no, we got to keep it going. Well, there's a lot of Sixth Sense in this, I think.
She shudders and holds herself as she makes her way across the room to the curtains, ever so slowly. She finally reaches them and pulls them to the side, but there's no one there. Suddenly, the door to the room slams shut. The lights go out and the door to the wardrobe creaks as it slowly opens. Eun-ju goes to investigate, opening the other door to the wardrobe and looking inside. She sees a piece of fabric between two pillows, and when she pulls it, something stirs inside. She is frightened and backs away from the wardrobe just as someone begins to slide out from between the pillows. A slime slides down the pillows with her. Eun-ju can do nothing but cower in front of Soo-yeon's dolls, horrified as she is approached. From outside the house, we hear Eun-ju scream.
Okay, so when Eun-ju heard the footsteps on the couch upstairs,
Yeah.
I was like, hold the fort. Mm-hmm. But then when she goes up there and she encounters an actual fucking ghost, where are we at? Because to me, I think the ghost is a much stronger metaphor for Soo-mi.
Right.
For this to be this haunting her, as opposed to it being, oh, the ghost's real.
There's also a ghost.
Yeah, there's a vengeful ghost in the house. Don't get it twisted. Don't be worried about it.
I'm not gonna lie. Don't be worried about it. She lives here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, be worried about it.
I like the idea of a little comeuppance.
See, and she deserves it, but not in this film. Not like this.
I mean,
It's-
tomato, you know? Or whatever. I think that it is interesting. It's really interesting that they were like, nah, sprinkle that in too.
Yeah.
You know?
Put the ghost back.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I'll agree with you that it doesn't 100% gel with the rest of the story that's being told, but I'm not exactly mad at it either.
I honestly didn't mind it, but I just I want a little more ghost. Like I want to know
If you're
more.
gonna have a
If
ghost.
you're gonna have it here, give me a little more of that.
Two.
Yeah, two.
ghosts.
Okay, no, yeah, two.
See, and the first one was a nightmare again.
Yeah.
That I'm pretty chill. But I just think I think it's that it's this ending. It's nothing that it's not that it looks bad. It's not
No, it
it just doesn't necessarily fit with everything.
with what we had already been given.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, let me do the next thing real quick.
Okay.
Laying in her bed at the hospital, a tear rolls down Soo-mi's face and a small smile spreads across her lips. She closes her eyes and is engulfed by a white light as she says Soo-yeon's name. So watching that, I'm like, okay, maybe she completed that story in her own mind. You know, maybe that didn't actually happen either, and Soo-yeon is kind of tying that up to satisfy herself.
Okay.
But I don't think so. I think Eun-ju really got because it all goes back to Mi-hee having seen that ghost.
If that hadn't happened,
It could be completely ambiguous.
yes.
Yeah.
And I think I'd be more fine with that. Honestly, yeah, cut out that with Mihi's reaction.
Yeah.
And then we can still have this, and it can be something for her to have closure.
Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah. I did read, I didn't see it for myself, but I went down a rabbit hole. But I did read that on some DVD release of this film, they had included a special feature of a letter that Soo-mi wrote Soo-yeon telling her that she misses her, but that she's happy now and was able to move on because they said that this was so fucking sad that they wanted to include something uplifting.
Yeah.
So in my mind, that's what happens
Okay.
after this.
That's fair.
Because we do not see present day Soo-mi again. This
Right.
is the
No,
last
right.
of her. Back in the flashback, and I will say we've said it a lot on certain films. This is very heavy moving forward to the end. So as always, protect your mental health. And if, this last bit isn't where it's at, then we'll see you next time. But Soo-yeon still lays in her bed. Seemingly having fallen asleep, she sits up in her bed and rubs her eyes. The door to her wardrobe across the room opens by itself and she goes over to it. Inside, she finds her mother, who has died by suicide. Soo-yeon is heartbroken, understandably. She screams and tries to pull her mother from the closet, but only succeeds in pulling it over onto herself. She screams as it crashes onto the floor. Everyone hears this. Moo-hyun and Sun-kyu hear it outside. Soo-mi turns as she's brushing her hair in the image we've seen of her before, and Eun-ju sits at the dining room table looking up to the second floor. Everyone stares in the direction of the sound, but Eun-ju is the only one who goes to investigate, leaving Mi-hee to clear the plates. Can I just say very quickly, the fucking audacity of y'all to have her family here eating while your wife is still upstairs sick? What the fuck?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
I want you to meet my brother.
Yeah.
I am appalled.
Because we're a thing now.
Yeah.
We go together.
Yeah,
I can't fucking believe this.
That's unbelievable. Honestly, and I hadn't even thought of it.
It's just dawning on me right now. You got a lot of fucking nerve. Both of y'all. Unbelievable.
That's why Sumi's so pissed.
Understandably. Yeah. But when Eunju goes to Soo-yeon's room, she sees the dresser has fallen on top of her. Her hand reaches out, desperate for help. Afraid, Eunju backs away, and the picture of young Soo-yeon, played by Park Seo-in, wearing her green dress, crashes to the floor, shattering the glass. Soo-yeon scratches desperately at the wardrobe, seeing Eunju's slippered feet standing in front of it. She watches as Eunju's feet backs away and out of the room. So this is when I'm like, was that a seizure that Mihi experienced?
Or was it?
Because it's literally Soo-yeon's point of view with the slippers and everything from underneath the wardrobe.
Yeah.
So it's almost more like a possession.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Very.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Her wearing the slippers and standing exactly the same way. I was like, what? But anyway. Eunju rushes down the hall, but suddenly thinks better of it and starts to head back. I couldn't believe that she was just leaving.
Yeah.
Unless she was leaving to get help.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't you be like, I'll be right back with help? You know what I mean? She was leaving.
Well, she kind of snuck out of the room. I don't know if just leaving.
Well, in all fairness, that's a very traumatic thing to witness. And your brain, who knows what
I guess
it tells you to do.
But, she wasn't in too much shock because of what this bitch says in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hold on. Don't give her too much fucking credit.
I wasn't.
I wasn't gonna.
Yeah.
Just before she can get to Soo-yeon's room, Soo-mi comes out of hers. She glances towards Soo-yeon's room, but instead of going that way, she sets her sights on Eunju. She stares at her with contempt, but Eunju asks her if she heard something. Underneath the wardrobe, Soo-yeon's struggles grow weaker. Soo-mi asks Eunju what she's doing up here because her dad isn't up here. Eunju laughs and is like, what do you mean? But Soo-mi tells her that she's trying to act like her mom. She asks Eunju to do her a favor and stay out of their lives. She tries to walk past her, but stops and asks her to get out of the way because she has to go. There was more than enough room.
There was.
Like, you want to fight, which I get, dude. You're fucking my dad, and my mom is here and said, I'm sorry. We know what she was doing.
Yeah, we know, but a little decorum is always nice. You don't have to.
No. She doesn't deserve it.
Oh, okay.
Eunju grabs her arm and warns her that she might regret this moment.
This is the most fucked up thing I've ever seen.
It's the most evil fucking thing.
Because she has all this knowledge of exactly what is happening at this moment.
Yeah.
To grab her arm and basically be like the meme of like, you sure about that?
Yeah.
Like, are you fucking kidding me? I couldn't believe it.
That's
sure about that?
That's why even from the beginning when she was talking to them and they seemed kind of like they didn't like speaking with their stepmother. I was like, something's not right, period. Something's got to be wrong. That's the first way we see you guys backing away from her, not wanting to interact with her.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, it could be like, oh, that's just the way the kids are seeing or whatever. But even throughout the movie, it kind of plays that way as well. So seeing this and then her being like, man, okay. You know what I mean? Okay. It's like, all right.
It's the most unbelievable.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, you're not in shock. You're not, you were like, oh, I didn't see this. If I don't see this, then it has nothing to do with me. And then you thought better of it for a second and you're like, oh, you're going to be a little bitch? Okay. Remember this. You know what I mean? Unbelievable.
This isn't like, I mean, it's not like someone eating your leftovers.
No.
It's
Yeah.
this is, to react this way, Eunju is a terrible person.
You're evil.
Yeah.
An actual evil human being.
Literally.
Yeah.
And so I get the representation in her mind of this person.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that ghost ate you or whatever it did. Fuck you, dude.
I mean, look, the result is good.
Yeah.
It's the method.
Yeah.
But she tells Soo-mi to keep that in mind about regretting this moment. Sumi roughly pulls her arm out of Eunju's grasp and asks her what would be worse than standing here with her. Soo-yeon struggles to breathe beneath the wardrobe, but Sumi isn't done reading Eunju for filth. She tells her that when she's here, she wants to be as far away from her as possible. She asks if she gets it now before pushing past her and going downstairs. Soo-yeon's hand scratches at the dresser and flops wildly onto the floor. That imagery that we keep seeing.
Yes.
Outside, Sumi pushes past her father, who calls her name. The music starts and she ignores him and keeps walking. She walks out of the gate of the house and into the field before stopping. The music stops too. Underneath the wardrobe, Soo-yeon weakly asks for help and whispers her sister's name before closing her eyes. A tear rolls down her face and her hand twitches slightly. Outside, Sumi looks back at the house reflectively for a moment. Eunju looks back out at her before going back inside and slamming the door. She was watching her from that balcony that she was staring at when she came back home.
Yeah.
The music continues and Sumi turns away in slow motion. Everything fades to black and white and we zoom in on her. We see her the day that she came back, but she sits at the dock alone in black and white. Color slowly comes back, starting with her red sweater. The music continues as she sits looking out at the water and the credits roll.
So I do want to say very quickly, the freeze frame is a little questionable.
Not questionable.
But the last shot of the film is so beautiful.
It is. It made me tear up.
Yes, because the thing is that if I'm not mistaken, you see Sumi there in the with her legs in the water, but the shoes are on the side of Soo-yeon.
Yeah.
Because her spirit is there.
Yeah.
And so it's and the music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you didn't like
I didn't like the freeze frame.
sitcom freeze
No,
frame.
I felt it was a little out of place.
I think it was more, it kind of felt kind of like an anime ending. Like that, it's
Oh,
beautiful.
I could see that.
But it was like the music and then the freeze frame, and I was like, okay, well.
For me, it was almost like she was stuck in that moment
Yeah.
of
Okay.
hesitation between almost going back and Eunju having to fucking be there at that moment to be her barrier of going back to the house.
Well, it was also kind of like the ending when Homer's mom comes back.
That makes me cry too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, just wistfully staring at the sky. But hey, that answers the question of chronology when she's looking
Yes.
up at the window
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
balcony, because there was that bit of confusion at the beginning, which again is sorted through.
Because she
Yeah.
ends up back at the hospital.
Yeah.
So you're wondering which time, and it's like, no, that was before she was released and came home and clearly wasn't ready to come home.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, so what did you guys think of A Tale of Two Sisters?
I really did enjoy this movie. I don't want to say it took to the second time for me to watch it to notice stuff, but it is one of those movies that you notice more out on rewatches. And I know I said that I don't like having to do that. But I did notice a lot more on this rewatch of it. And I don't feel like any of this was lazy or misplaced, or I mean, I will agree. Maybe there's a couple, like the ghost thing feels kind of added in, but I also feel like if you're going to add it, make it work a little bit better. You know what I mean? Or just add just a little more element of that in there.
Okay.
But I did enjoy the shit out of this movie. Like, I was surprised. And like I said, I know I said that I wanted the slow burn that would make me be like, oh, okay. And this was almost there. This was almost there for me. The beginning was weird and confusing, and the part of the middle where it was kind of like, what the fuck? But then the rest of it was just like, what the fuck? But then that, the ending, it's very sad. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
The movie is very sad.
I definitely appreciate this movie a lot. I think the biggest takeaway is the rewatch value and the craft at hand here with everything working so well together.
Yeah.
Because you watch it on this second watch and you see everything that they've been trying to tell you from the beginning.
Yep.
And it's very impressive to have a twist that, to have twists, plural twists.
Many
twists. It's like when I do my hair, there's a lot of twists that give you this ability to go back and see so much. And I guarantee you watch it a third time, you saw something you didn't pick up the second time.
For sure.
Yeah.
So it's just very impressive in that way. Very, very skilled filmmaking. Not lazy.
No,
Not at all.
I wouldn't say that.
It's so surprising to me, and I'm never going to forget that.
Yeah.
I'm going to harp on
he
it
was,
forever.
He was so unbothered.
Yeah.
By it.
No,
he's
I'd be
like,
in
"Come on."
tears.
I know.
Yeah, I'm in tears for you. But no, I really enjoyed this movie. I think that the thing for it for me is that extra addition. And it's not even just that they decided to add a supernatural element, because you can have that and still have it play into everything going on with her. Mm-hmm. Because if you present it in such a way that it is that metaphor, it feels more in line with everything we've seen already.
Right.
But to have it be like, no, that's actually a ghost in this house.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
There's some ghosts in this house. Right?
Certified eek, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm scared.
But I mean, I guess you would have ghosts in the house,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
If any house has ghosts,
It's
that
this
house
house.
has ghosts.
Eek.
No, yeah. Well, no, but I mean, why wouldn't you play in a little more to that?
And you could. And I think that's the thing, is that if this were a different film that leaned more into the supernatural, that might not be satisfying either.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I feel like if you're going to include it at all, there's such a tightrope to walk because there's already so much confusion going on just with what's going on with Sue Me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then I could see maybe using it as misdirection, but then there was never any ghost at all. But,
That works better for me.
there is a ghost.
Yeah.
There's two ghosts.
Yes.
Yes.
Possibly two.
And they're capable of murder.
Yeah.
So
well,
that's-
only the person that deserved it.
Yeah, but it's still a murder. Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't change the act.
It's called revenge. No, but I love this. I feel like I gain a little bit more and I appreciate it a little bit more every time that I watch it. And I realize just, oh my God, the amount of forethought that went into this. It is just staggering. Like I think T had said it at the beginning, everything means something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything. There are a couple things that I am still a little confused about, but overall it's such a sad story. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so fucking sad. I do like to believe what I read about her kind of continuing with her life because she deserves it, you know? All of this comes from a place of such tremendous guilt and it's just so sad, you know? But goddamn, Unju. Oh my God. Oh my God. It made me so angry.
Were you about to say I hate you?
I hate her.
I heard you stop yourself.
I did. I just hate her so much. But we can kind of go into ratings. I will agree with you that my only issue with the ghost thing was the fact that Mihi saw it.
Yes.
But I will say I really love that moment of payoff when she tells her husband in the car because it is so scary.
It
Yeah.
is.
So I don't know. It's like I don't know. I guess I agree that it would have been nice if that were left a little more ambiguous. But at the same time, God, I loved seeing her get her fucking shit brought to her. At
Oh,
the
yeah.
end. I just everything about this, the colors, the music, the acting,
Yes.
everything, and like you said, the rewatchability, the fact that I could watch this for the first time, a second time, and a third time, and kind of have a completely different perspective every time that I watch it. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Some of those gifts are tears.
Yeah, no shit.
Because this is a tragedy.
It
Yeah.
absolutely, and it's incredibly emotional, and it's to me executed so well that you're just like, fuck, dude, like why? I mean, like I'm sad as fuck right now. But you got to appreciate a film that is gonna make you feel something, and this one definitely does. I don't know what it is about these South Korean horror films, but they just do it for me. Like so far, everyone that I've seen, it is just knocking it out of the park.
Oh, yeah.
But to sum it all up, because I feel like I've talked enough. On a scale from 1 to 10 wicked wardrobes, I am going to give A Tale of Two Sisters 9 out of 10 wicked wardrobes. If I would have had a little more time to watch this a couple more times, it might be a 10. I mean, it was every time I'm watching it, I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I'm blown away by it. It's spectacular. Watch it, get your shit rocked and your mind blown. It's great. But I will now open up the floor to you.
I know I said it a few times earlier and about the slow burn thing, but I did enjoy this movie. And there was actual times when I was sitting there and like you said, T earlier about holding your breath, not like I wouldn't say fully, but you know what I mean? Like I was invested. I know I was invested.
Yeah.
It isn't easy. And I know it sounds whatever, and I'm not, but it isn't easy because for me to get unnerved by movies or things that happen on there because we watch so much horror, we consume so much media of shit happening or pranks or whatever, or TV shows or, you know what I mean? Just constant shit going on.
Yeah.
But I did and I knew too when she was reaching for the clip and the hand came out from under the sink. I knew the fucking hand was going to come out, but it still did give me a tiny like, hey, that got you.
In your nipple.
The nipple, yeah. It radiated through the body. But it that in itself, I was like, I can't not count that. I can't sit there and underplay the fact that did even the tiniest, you know what I mean, sense of being nervous. It got me. So if you can do that, then I'm going to give you your props where they are. Because, again, slow burns are not my thing. And that's the only thing I will say about this movie for me. And it's not the slow burn, it's the sadness of it. It is very sad. And I mentioned it when we covered Seven. It's bleak. You know what I mean? And this movie for me almost is on that line of being too sad. And it's like, man, I don't want to be crying the whole time. You know what I mean? Or
no, it's devastating.
Be angry at what's happening on the screen the whole time because it is such a good and engrossing story. And I want to see more and I want to know what's going on. I'm invested in these characters. But at the same time, I'm like, man, I feel shitty or you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Because the story, you feel bad or what, for these people and the characters. And it's like, damn. But that's about it. Other than that, I really enjoyed the shit out of this movie. I'd recommend anyone to watch it. For the critic or whoever said that. And no disrespect, but lazy. I didn't see lazy in this.
No,
I didn't. I don't get lazy out of this at all. I did enjoy this. Like I said, one more time, I'd recommend anyone to watch it. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I can see it either way. I get it.
It's an experience.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. But for me, on a scale of 1 to 10 wicked wardrobes, I'm going to give A Tale of Two Sisters an 8. I did enjoy this movie. And like I said, I'll give it where it deserves. You know what I mean? Because it did unnerve me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even that small bit, I was like, that's what I was looking for, because we don't get that a lot. You know what I mean? And then being able to see a movie or have a experience watching a movie give you that, even if the smallest as it is, you still felt that.
Yes.
So I was like, okay. I was like, all right, I can dig it. I can get with it.
I think I agree with both of you completely. My thing that I have to call out for the biggest positive is the thoughtful marriage of set design, costuming, the writing, direction, cinematography.
Yeah.
Because the way that they are able to convey the relationships between these characters, the father is basically all gray all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because he is a non-issue in this story.
Yeah.
He's not affiliated
at all. And so you never see him in any of these colors, any red, any blue, any of it. And his hair matches his shirt.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's like, just that small attention to detail to be like, look, he's here, but he's not what we're focused on.
Yep.
Yeah.
And people blending into the wallpaper, people wearing red at certain times, people wearing more red at certain times, people changing into red. It's like, this is very thoughtful.
Yeah.
And it's very, very smart filmmaking, a way to go back and really discover things. But no, all those amazing. And performances need to be called out as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I know you did when you gave your rating, but watching it, like, there are moments that are just fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But the negatives, it's just the ghost. And I love, look, I love a haunted house picture.
Yeah.
I love pictures that have ghosts in them, pictures that should have ghosts in them.
Yeah.
And I don't know what those are. But what I'm trying to say is that if there is a ghost in this house, that's fine. But it works way better as a metaphor for Sumi.
Right.
Than, and that, I can't disagree with you. That moment is great. When her head is bent back and she's staring under the sink.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And then even just the moment of coldness and calmness in the car to say, I saw something in the house.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
I loved that.
But does it fit this film?
Yeah, I was going to say, but I understand because that's not what we've been given so far.
No.
At all.
And I understand the nightmare. That makes sense. Even if it wasn't a nightmare for Sumi, it still makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's he seeing it.
Yeah. That's the only issue.
Yeah. Even Unju seeing it later.
Yeah.
That's fine too with what we learn.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I hope that it works for people, and I'm excited that it does. But for me, it was just it was one twist too many.
Okay.
For Unju to be actually murdered by a ghost.
Yeah.
I loved it.
But for me, out of 10 wicked wardrobes, I am going to give A Tale of Two Sisters an 8 as well.
Okay.
It's just that ghost. If we...
You lost 2 points for a
well,
ghost.
yeah. There were 2 ghosts. If we can sort out...
For each
sort out the ghost, yeah. For each scene we see a ghost, I shall take...
The man's nothing if he's not bitter. I don't know what else to say. Well, that's all from us at Pod Mortem. What would you rate A Tale of Two Sisters, and what should we watch next? Let us know on Twitter at the Pod Mortem. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook. Be sure to follow each of us on Twitter at Blood and Smoke, at RealStreeter84, and at TravisMWH. Be sure to use discount code Mortem5 at creepycrate.store for $5 off your first order. Please consider pledging to our Patreon and stay tuned until after the music for a special shout out to our Wendigo Getter patrons. And remember, when given the choice, always choose love over hate. Letting your disdain for one person overshadow your love for another could lead to a lifetime of regret. Until next time. Thank you for staying tuned for a special thank you to our Wendigo Getter patrons.
Yeah. Woo!
We got it.
I think we switch every week.
A special thank you to
Chris Ontiveros, Kristen Lofton, Megan Martinez, Kimberly Bass, Sophie Hodson, Anthony Jerome M., Jordan Nash, Kent Morton, Lala Thomas, Travis Anissa Hunter, Miguel Myers ATX, Jennifer Perez, Allison O'Neill, Carissa, TJ and Angie Bronson, Gabrielle Trevino, Spooky Mom, Andy Teague, Applin Ontiveros, Karima Rhodes, Antonio Huerta, Kimberly Kleindienst, Will Brown, Sydney Smith, Osvaldo Soto, Bobby Holmes, Donna Eason, JD Rezak, Molly Gerhard, Armand Spasto, Aaron Aguirre, Eggy, William Barry, Brittany Ramatar, Charity Oxner, Amanda Six, Mandy Rainwater, Eden, Jordan Roberts, Dylan,
Melissa Sierra, Holly Bryan, Jordan Blevins, Liz Heath, Spencer Montalvo, Pancake the Panda, John Ramos, Michael Newting, Alexis Roberts, Dan Laveau, Itzy M, Gary Horton, Alicia Olivier, Kate Lamp, Carlos and Sydney, Jessica Hunter, Helena Rudder, Alan Johnston, Mariah, Livy Fun, Mandy M, Scott Troutman Wise, Towton Watson, Mozzie Bear, Brittany G, Dave Burke, Adrian Stakes, Nick Spill, Emma Hagel-Kissinger, Valerie G, Emiliana, Brian Glass, CB, Maya Noches, Taylor Santana, Will Lewison, Angelique, Smelly Poo Poo Head, Beth Bauer,
Ben Coons, Cookie, Esperanza J, Jason Kyle OKC, Joshua Rumley, Danielle Peralta, Hannah R, Brandon, Nicholas Carter, Sawyer Reese Farr, Dr. Diva Loves Horror, Girl That's Scary, M. Fryback, Cassandra, Andrea Simmons, Ashley Higuera, William and Zena Rush, Ryan Braum, Megan Ochoa, Laura Lassiter, Natalie De Guzman, Eileen O, Marissa E, Sydney, Henry F, Megan M, Christy Beck, Nancy and Andy, Amanda Lopez, Cody Graves, Andy Terrell, Jason Hanovan, Emel Tafoya, Abigail Spitzer, Katie K, Erica Morin, Cameron S, Nicole Stewart, Tris Wynn, K.87, Mariah Jensen, Carrie A, Lonnie Lono, Powell, Kayla E, Maggie H, Fernando Dominguez, Murder Stina, No Thanks Tom Hanks, Kevin McGonigal, Kristen Marcy, and Ori81 Boricua. Thank you all so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I would say how much we love you and appreciate you, but that wouldn't be much of a twist. You know?
Yeah, too many twists.
There's so many twists.
One too many.
Well, you know, that's why I didn't add another one.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Until next time.